business. You just call it, I can see in their list, they're talking about some small industries. Those small industries, basically, so you have an idea, you get some funding, you go and put up an industry, and then you bring in now, you bring in to bring in some other nini. Those guys, when you employ, pia wako na watu wengine wameemploy mahali wanaishigi, they're paying rent wherever they are renting, so there's that trickle effect. So what happens when you start now saying ati unafungia watu ati ama some people are being barred from doing that kind of a thing. And she can't come and tell us that those Kenyans, or rather those Kenyans with those registered businesses, they're not paying taxes over there. I'm sure they're paying for licenses. They're paying for taxes in that country. So I think this is just a gimmick, just to try and sell the narrative that for us to seek re-election, that we need to now put the foreigners away and now come and show that we are really creating something for the people. So it's just a gimmick ya kujaribu tu the local zuko, so that because it's a campaign here. And you see, these are the politics that the African youth, or rather the generation, the current age. These are not the politics that we should adapt. These are not politics that are supposed to be of benefit to anyone. These are just a few people who want to just do their thing and forget about nini watu tu wanajipenda. So for me, your idea, I think kitu ya kubuy those small businesses from operating, by foreigners. To me, that is not. I don't think that is in order. So, but at the end of the day, the current leadership of the day is what matters. So we need to get rid of this crop of African leaders who try to take us back to this kind of ideologies and thinking, and we start talking about progressive politics, where we don't really elect the government to do anything for us. Actually, we just want to have a country that is good for everyone, where everybody, the children can go to schools, we can take care of our families, we can build our country, we can we have a country we call our home. That's all we seek. We don't elect, and so the government should be in a position to create that conducive business environment, so that now people can thrive, and then people can pay. Once people thrive, people will pay taxes, jobs will be created, the economy will be good. So maybe just to wrap this, I think I would just continue listening to what our speakers have to say. Of course, just to appreciate you, PP, for this forum and the discussions that we really have. I yield. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bwana Architect, for that. We are here for social conversation kama kawaida, and I see John Seremani alikuwa ameinua mkono juu before I bring in Red Hand Republic. John Seremani.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to make a submission before I drop down to the listeners kidogo, about I know people will talk about Tanzania's sovereignty and all these things, but I think that's a bit of an interesting thing, because Kenya is also sovereign, but we also seek to abide by East Africa Community agreements. So the thing about you're sovereign, so you can go outside and make a deal and then come back home and break the same deal, I don't think diplomatically is very wise. But let me move on from that and focus on the right to recall just briefly, because up until music, and I keep on saying, and I don't know, like, what were the committee of experts thinking? This kama right to recall, you don't leave that to anybody. You write it in ink. You have to put it into the constitution, the process. You have to put it there, because if you just leave it for anybody, especially the MPs, they're going to, do as they please and dilly-dally, etc., as they are right now. There's something about term limits that is very important. I think, is it in Rwanda, where the president has a 7-year term limit? That is crazy. That is crazy. That is just in the world, in the history of how to do government. When it comes to republics, like, that is crazy. Let me take you back a bit, because the thing is, the Republican system of government is the best system of government known to man, because it has produced the only two real superpowers in the world, the Rome and the United States. So many people might not know, Pipita, but around 400 BC, Rome rebelled against their colonial masters, and they set up a republic. And that republic ran for 400 years. And they had elections every year. Can you... Yani, you can imagine, I think that would work in Kenya, kusema tu ukweli, because we're always in election mode. And if someone comes up with a really stupid law, next year anatoka. Like, that's what they did. They were so afraid of people amassing power. You'd have elections every year. They had elections every year. And they had two presidents serving at the same time. They couldn't even trust one person with a job. So that's part of the reason why it ran for so long, 400 years. The next one, the longest running modern constitution, is the United States as a Republican form of government. And in the US, I think you're aware, when it comes to members of the House, the representatives, they have elections every 2 years. So there's something about short, if you're going to put a long term for MPs, for presidents, or whatever, you need to have the right to recall somehow defined and enshrined, as a what do you call this? An untouchable clause in the Constitution. So the fact that they failed to do that, and then you still give them 5 years, inakuwa ni shida. It is even better wangeipunguza hadi 2 years, then history ya recall haingekuwa an issue, because after 2 years, it's short enough. And there's philosophy that goes into this, because you're designing a government, you're designing a system of government, you're looking at human nature, and you're saying if someone stays in power for too long, they naturally become corrupt. So basically, as I learned, I think, well, of course, priorities get these guys out of power, because there's no meaningful change that can come as long as the current crop of leadership is in power. But when these people are out of power, we need to seriously think about the design that we have. There are some fundamental flaws. It's really good, by the way, but there are some fundamental flaws in how this thing was set up. Juu ukisema tu ukweli, even just the ile mshangao yenye niko nayo, when I read Article 104, the first, you're like, how can you leave it to the MPs to decide how they are supposed to be recalled? Are we thinking? Ni kama, it's what Malia was asking, like, yani, in nchi aina gani? Do we have people who think in this country? Because someone like, mnamwacha hapo kwa hospitali for, it's crazy. So as a country, we need to start thinking. Asante Pipita, let me drop kidogo.
Asante John Seremani for your submission. Let us go to Red Hand Republican. How are you doing, Red Hand Republican?
Yes, Pipita, I'm doing well this evening. Thank you for hosting us. How are you today?
I am well myself. Karibu sana kwenye kipindi.
Asante sana. Asante sana. I've been listening to the submissions for a while. And I would like to first talk about the right to recall. I've posted in the comment section I've actually shared the link of a post by someone else called Waikwa on the step-by-step process on recalling your MP, MCA, or senator. Now, for those who I've posted this before on this space, but as I told you, most times whenever we talk about something, there'll be people who are not here, and would have to refresh memories for those who are here and inform those who aren't. So yeah, in Kenya, you have the right to recall an MP, which is a right given to you by the Constitution of Kenya, but it can only happen 2 years after an election, meaning after the 2022 elections, you could not recall someone in 2022 or 2023 or 2024. Therefore, this is the year that you now have a right to recall your MP, your MCA, or your senator. And the deadline for recalling an MP is at least 1 year before the next election. With the next election being in 2027, August, it means that the last time that you can recall an MP is August 2026, which is next year. Meaning you have exactly 12 months to recall an MP. If those 12 months lapse, you lose that right. Whether or not the laws by the IEBC forbid you or not, but according to the laws of the land, we cannot recall after August 2026, which is next year, probably at a time like this being 30th July. Probably around that time is when your right will lapse. So, with that said, I also want to mention, as I've mentioned before, what we call quorum. Now, you may be wondering why there are MPs who have died, like the Kasipul MP, James Were. I think his first name was James, I'm not sure. And also the MPs who have found themselves in parliament, like in cabinet, like Geoffrey Ruku, who is the Minister for Public Lands, I think, and Duale as well, who found himself there after being, I think, MP for Garissa. And you wonder why parliament was still going on. Well, there's something called quorum, where for majority of the bills, that the minimum number for a quorum, so that bills can be presented and debates can continue, is 50 MPs. By saying this, I'm trying to say that recalling one MP is not enough. You can recall Esther Passaris, you can recall however many you want, but since Parliament is made up of 330 members of Parliament, 290 being elected and 47 being women reps, you must know that even if you recall 10 MPs, Parliament will still continue. I'm not trying to discourage, I'm just trying to show why the dilly-dallying that we've been doing with unionizing and bonding and being one movement has brought a lot of limitations to our movement for change in the country. Now, even if we are able to recall Esther Passaris, I can assure you that immediately that recall is done, IEBC receives the signatures and in 90 days calls for elections. Before that election happens, the MPs will be there changing the law. They'll be there changing the law, making sure that such a situation never happens again. And as a matter of fact, you will find them all seated, all 330. Actually, they're not 330 now because of the ones, but you get the drift. All MPs who are currently in the House will be seated after being paid a lot of money by the national government to sit and change that law because, well, William Ruto paid a lot of money to buy MPs from Azimio, and also a lot of money to have MPs in his UDA party. And seeing as he's not sure how well he's going to steal the next election, he's going to make sure that at least for the term he is in office, the guaranteed one that is this one, that the MPs that he currently has remain that number. And especially knowing that the Esther Passaris being the one targeted is an ODM MP or women rep, ODM will join hands with the government without blinking, because they are not ready to be the first party to lose a member of parliament via recall, which it would bode really badly for them in history, being the party that claims to be for democratic change, but it is that party and not the president's party that got a recall. Therefore, we must also set our sights on the fact that our dilly-dallying has brought us to this situation. If we had collected all those signatures when we were protesting earlier on 25th June, by now we'd have already recalled one, or at least had the signatures. And when those demonstrations were happening everywhere, because they happened in a lot of constituencies, we would have recalled a lot of them based solely on the signatures. With at least the process for recalling, we'd have recalled at least 100, because these demonstrations started were in a lot of constituencies. Therefore, we also must look at our own failures, finding ourselves in this position where we are at the mercy of the IEBC, we're at the mercy of ODM, and we're at the mercy of UDA. If you followed Jalango during the time he was trying, when ODM and UDA had not formed the broad-based government, if you were following as Jalango was trying to talk to UDA, despite the restrictions given to him by the ODM party. The ODM party did not have to get signatures to recall Jalango. The ODM party, all it had to do to make Jalango stop talking to the government is threaten to excommunicate him from the party. And once you're able to remove somebody from your political party, he no longer has a right to represent anybody, since he won that ticket from the party, which would mean there would have been a by-election in Langata. That is, of course, the easiest way to remove an MP from power. That if the MP gets into that position with your party, instead of collecting signatures and having to fight the IEBC, the easiest way is just to remove them from your party list. And just like that, that person no longer has the right. Therefore, my advice to the Kenyans in this space is, instead of trying to fight the IEBC and because we all know that in the end, these recalls, we are going to find what the MPs are going to do is they're going to make sure that recall doesn't happen. All Esther Passaris has to do is gain enough support from ODM and the government to make sure that recall does not happen for at least the next 11 months. She just has to hang on for 11 months, pay whoever she needs to pay, make sure all your signatures are taken to court. They got to say, oh, we'll have a hearing in November. Then that November, there'll be another hearing in January. Then she will lose the case. Then she'll file at the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal will then push it for another 3 months to March. Then the case will last for another 4 months. Next thing you know, it's August. And whatever the outcome of the case, you cannot be able to recall her. So the easier way would be, instead of trying to fight the IEBC like that, is when you're electing your MP, make sure that the MPs that you're electing are coming from your party. Like right now, since we are all planning for the 2027 general election, and I'm sure there are people here on this space that are running for seats, how about if the youth themselves had their own party? By this, I mean that instead of waiting for somebody like Gachagua to go and form a party and then everybody is running there to look for seats, have your own party and invite someone. If you like Gachagua, although I don't like him, if you like Gachagua, you tell him, like happens in other democracies, you own your party and then you look for candidates for your party. You go to Sifuna and tell him, Sifuna, tunaona unakaliwa sana na ODM. Hii party ni ya majenzi. Sisi wote tutakupigia kura. Come and run for senator in our party. So that when Sifuna goes to the Senate and starts joining government and saying things that you don't like, you just remove him from the party list. You don't even have to collect signatures. You don't even have to do what. You just like that, you have a by-election. That would be my first take. On the second one, I've heard you discussing on Tanzania. I'd like to give a contrary opinion, although I do understand that we are a democracy and we are ruled by capitalism as well. Our economy is under capitalism. We must understand that the wages that Kenyans need to sustain themselves are far higher than a Tanzanian or a Burundian needs. This is where you find people in Mjengo are complaining that for them, they usually get 600 to work in a Mjengo a day, but a Burundian will come there and take 200 shillings. What does that mean for you as a person working for Mjengo? That means that you're out of work. There's no way the person, because we know labor is the most expensive factor of production. Even all the stones in the cement don't come close to the amount of money a developer pays for labor. They will always choose the laborer who wants lower wages. This is where you find a lot of Tanzanians, Burundians are coming to Kenya. They take the 300 and you're out of work. We're actually complaining about unemployment in this country, yet we are also being as democratic as we are. We are also angry about what Tanzania is doing to Kenyan businesses and Kenyan entrepreneurs in Tanzania and also other Kenyan workers. We must ask ourselves, are we okay as well as Kenyans allowing people coming to the country and asking for lower wages? If people remember in Kericho, there's a time Kericho brought the Kericho tea factories started. I mean, the Kericho large-scale tea farmers started using tea picking machines, tea plucking machines. Now you'd find a farm usually hires 1,000 workers to pluck the tea with their hands, and that worker lives with 500 shillings every day. Then somebody, because he's an entrepreneur, and he wants to reduce his cost of labor, he brings a machine where his only problem will be insurance, maintenance, and fuel, which is way cheaper than paying human beings who fall sick, who get tired, and all that. And what happened in Kericho? These guys banned the tea plucking machine. And it's not that they are banning the tea plucking machine out of ignorance. They do well know that this tea plucking machine is doing a better job than them. But they're wondering, where will the 1,000 of us go? Because tea is the only business here that is making us money. Where will 1,000 people go? And then, if you followed, Kenyans started complaining, calling Kenyans in Nairobi and other areas started complaining, calling the Kericho tea laborers ignorant for banning those machines. But then you ask yourself, where do thieves come from? Thieves come from a situation where they no longer can sustain their living. You have 3 kids in the house. Hauna kazi. Ile kazi ulikuwa unafanya imeenda. And there are 1,000 of you. It's not just you who's been fired. There are 1,000 of you. So whichever jobs are out there, you're competing with these new 1,000 unemployed people. You're not going to get the jobs that you're looking for. And you're not going to watch your children dying of hunger. So what do? You start stealing. So technically, the tea plucking machines, though they were making tea harvesting more efficient and therefore making the tea cheaper because the cost of labor has gone down, Kericho, the livelihoods of the Kericho workers were affected. What does this mean? You've created 1,000 new crooks, 1,000 new thieves. You're walking, your phone is stolen. You're going here, your phone is stolen. This is about the cost of labor. It even happened in South Africa, where the xenophobia was not targeted at white people, it was targeted at other Africans coming to South Africa. Why? Because other Africans, even Kenyans, as a matter of fact, when they go to South Africa, they take lower wages than the South African. And that is how Kenyans get those better jobs. Even in the States, you can see what's happening. People are complaining about immigration because you're on the law as I learned. The law in the US, there are labor laws that state that you cannot get less than, I don't know, 15 or is it $20 an hour? And then a Mexican comes and is taking $5 an hour. Of course, Starbucks is going to fire you and hire the Mexican. And as more immigrants come in, you find that you can no longer get a job. You can no longer get a job because people are taking lower wages. And then what happens to you? You lose your livelihood. You're now on food stamps. You're now on unemployment claims. You're now hoping for the government to give you a sustenance so that you can be able to live in your house, you can be able to eat. So yeah, as much as we hate what Tanzania has done, we must also look at it on the other side. We must look at it as, how does a Tanzanian feel when he has a degree? He's done everything he was told to do: go to school, study hard, get a degree, and you will get a job. And then he comes out and he finds a Burundian getting the job. This guy has no degree, has nothing, but only because this Burundian can accept lower pay. With that, I hope I haven't made anybody angry. I was just stating the other side of the issue, what other people may be seeing from that situation. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Red Hand Republican, for that. I see Pop ako hapa hivi na sisi. Pop, how are you? Talk to us.
PP mean, okay, I'm just trying to understand. Hii unasikia hizo mahandball, mtu wewe ni mtu wa ball pia unajua ball kidogo. Mtu amejipiga handball. Tumefika aje hapa? That is what we have to figure out. Tuko kwa hii situation aje? Unless we address that, tusikuwa wajinga. We have to address tumefika aje hapa. How did we get in this situation? Kama tutaki kuaddress hiyo kitu, then tutakuwa tunaendelea ni kama treadmill. You are running but you're not going anywhere. Unakimbia tu kwa treadmill. You are running on a treadmill but you're not moving. It's just a treadmill. You just run, but you're not moving. Tumefika aje hapa? That is the biggest question we have to address. Kama watu wataki kuaddress hiyo kitu, PP Mr. kudanganya. Watu walikuwa wanajua huyu mtu ni wazimu, ni muuaji. How did they like this motherfather? So walimchagua wakijua ni muuaji, ni wazimu, ni mwizi. Sameiba mashamba, ameua watu before wamuelect, ndio? Mi wangesidanganya. They knew that. People knew that. So how did they elect this mother father? Walimchagua aje? Mbona walimchagua? Mkitaka niwapatie answer mtaniambia baadaye pipi. Mimi nitawaambia baadaye. Lakini walimchagua, si ndio? Live. Walimchagua live. Si ndio? Saizi wanaanza kulia. Watu kama sisi tulijua huyu ni muuaji, ni mwizi. He's the worst of the worst. But watu wengine walimchagua for their own reasons. Si ndio? Si tulijua huyu ni muuaji, ni mwizi, ni kila kitu. The worst of the worst. Tumefika aje hapo? If we do not address that, tutakuwa tuna run to in circles. Treadmill. Tunakimbia na tusonge. So hizi zingine ni majaba tu. Mimi nasikianga tu watu wakiwa space juu nini tumtoe. Tunamtoa aje? Si mlimchagua? Mlikuwa mnajua ni mwizi, ni muuaji. Mbona tumtoe? Nyinyi ndio mlimchagua. Hakuna mahali anaenda. After 5 years then we'll figure out wala watu walimchagua. Then hopefully they learn their lessons. Hopefully. Then wanaweza chagua mjinga mwingine. Kwa sababu Kenya people vote for ile ujinga tu. Sasa huyu wazimu tulikuwa tunajua ni ya wazimu. But we're not going to play those games. Lazima amalize. Si mlimchagua. Lazima amalize. Atamaliza. Kumaliza atamaliza. 5 years. Na atajaribu kuiba tena. So anaweza piga hata 10 years. Kwa sababu mlimweka aje hapo. Like really. This dumbass hana clue yoyote ya running. Hata hajai run kibanda. Ni mkampatia president.
Lakini sinasikia tuko in this together Bob. Mbona sasa unatuambia nyinyi kama wewe basi uko Tanzania si ukue huko tu nao?
Hapana, nasema
kama tunatufanya tunafeel guilty. Unatuambia nyinyi kama wewe basi uko sawa si utoke tu hii space uende bwana.
Sawa, si ati niko sawa lakini nasema alichaguliwa aje? Nani alimchagua? Mlikuwa mnajua huyu ni wazimu. Mlikuwa mnajua ni wazimu. Mlichagua wazimu. Anaua watu. Before hata mlikuwa mnajua. Si alikuwa na kesi ya ICC. Witness kesi yake ilishaje? Si aliua witness wote, si ndio? Alafu mkamweka president. Kwani mimi ni wazimu? Tulikuwa tunajua huyu mtu ukimfanyia madharau atakuua. Alafu sasa mnaanza kushtuka. Mbona na kidnap watu? Mbona anaua watu? Mnashtuka aje? Si alikuwa anafanya hizo vitu kitambo. Alikuwa anafanya kabla.
Sasa unajua unatuambia mnashtuka, wewe hujaangalia hata conversation ya leo. Hebu
mimi nakasirika unaona huyu kuzi huyu.
You are dragging the conversation away from what we were talking about. We are not talking about Ruto. We are talking about the right to recall the MPs, the right to
hata kubali, hawezi kubali. Huyu mtu ataeliminate watu wote. Nyinyi mnajifanya tu ni kama mjui mtu. Hawezi kubali. Nyinyi mnafikiria ametoka ni kama unasikia mtu anasema ile Biblia inasema aje? You just came from what? Ni kama umetoka sijui wapi. Nimesahau kwa sababu nimekasirika. Unafikiria atakubali? Hawezi kubali. Mna recall aje? Na ni watu wake. Una recall watu wake aje? Hawezi kubali. Hata kuua pipi. Afadhali akuue. Hiyo ni rahisi. Atakuua utajipata sijui Rivayala sijui wapi. Tusiwaste time hapa. Atakuua, hiyo ni rahisi. Alafu kesi iendelee baadaye. Nyinyi kama ni kama mjui mtu. Ni kama mjui.
No, Pop hapa uko hapa kudumsay and I'm not about doomsaying kwa show bwana. Wewe umekuja kudumsayia watu kwa show. Kwa heri. Have a good time. I will not agree to kama hizo. We are on an open conversation space, but we are not going to have a platform where people are going to come and tell us that you're going to be killed by Ruto. We refuse. Hiyo nimekata. Yeah. That is actually doomsaying on a platform where people are supposed to talk about making change. No. Hiyo nimekata. So yeah, Sesmo, I don't know if you really agree with Pope, but mimi I feel what he's trying to say is exactly what Ruto wants us to think and believe, that he is untouchable, he's a killer, all these things that you're saying right now. Actually.
Yeah. Well. I don't want to dispute his opinion because, you see, basically, even as we talk about the right to recall the MPs, already ama jamaa wameingizwa box. So hivyo tu vile anasema, these guys are not going anywhere. And as I said, the only thing we can do right now is just to be tu kuvumilia, watu mjikaze tu, mali mtu anaweza kujikaza hivyo. The clock is ticking. As I said, next week, by end of next week, we'll have now had 2 years now to the general election. And I know, of course, that's going to ita trigger campaigns zianze. So of course tunawangoja huku wakuje waanze kutupatia hizo stories zao, wanatupatiaga kutuenjoy hivyo makelele mingi. But I think we have a chance to change the way this country is governed, right from the top all the way hadi pale ule MCA wenyu wa pale chini pale kabisa pale MCA. And me, I would only, because now we cannot continue. We've already, the Gen Zs they've made their point, and of course the pressure is still there. Lakini me, I have a very strong feeling that we have an opportunity to completely change this system, because watu wamechoka. I mean, and I want to agree with Pope. Okay. Well, si ati watu wako wanajua ama, I think what happened is, by the time the Jubilee government was coming to wrap up, businesses zilikuwa zishaanza kusafa. The economy had started taking a nosedive, and so there was a lot of desperation, and of course kulikuwa na propaganda mingi. I don't know, the former president hizo two stories. And what happens with people is that when people start being hopeless and you start giving them promises, you start like consoling these people. Of course, they'll fall for the trap, and they'll do exactly what they've been listening, or rather the direction that they're being taken. Because what like now that this former DP, he's also in as much as he's now agitating that there's a problem, and and these are things anakuja kutuambia, mimi by them najua ni vile hata mimi huyu jamaa nikadanganywa, na sasa hata mimi nimewakosea, naomba mnisamehe. Yeah. The narrative he was driving by the time he was the running mate of the now the Kenya Kwanza, the KK government. He has since changed tunes, and so what we need to do is we need to really think. Yeah, I agree with Pope. We need to think through. We need to make sure that every person who comes and wants to vie for whatever position, that we've thought through, and we know these kind of people, what kind of persons they are. And I think that is what my good friend is trying to nini. Lakini sasa pia hii country pia there's so much unaweza maliza watu ama unini. You cannot do away with the 55 million Kenyans. I mean, at some point lazima ita give in. So mimi naweza tu advise watu, my fellow comrades, let's just watu wavumilie tu. 2 years is not. I know it's still tough. It's very very tough actually. Especially kwanza wale watu. Of course, everybody, even whether you're employed, whether you're unemployed, whether in Juakali, whether you're doing your own little thing, whatever it is you're doing, I know things are very very tough. But tumekapitia so far actually kutoka I think 2024 we've been I mean people have been experiencing this thing, and even now 2025 now we are actually at the climax, and if you still these fellas bado wanakuja hapa last week wanaongeza bei ya mafuta, like it's I mean, and there's nothing, and then they show us there's nothing we can do. So me, I can only tell people just watu watulie. Hata saa hii story za hizi escalation maandamano, because it's not working. But come 2027, let people be ready to change the way this country is being led, or rather we have to change this politics, and we have to change. And I think the politics that we have to change. When I remember the time back when we were in primary school, when I used to hear boys say, Kanu's gonna rule for 100 years. And I think we still, bado tuko kwa hiyo turmoil. Can we still, we can feel it. And I think this is now the time to now set, we need to set the Gen Zs have already set the precedent. This happened on the 25th June 2024. That agitation is still there, but rather than go to the nini, let these youngsters also take up IDs and wajihami. Let's keep pressing. Let's keep having these conversations, daily conversations. I know every day. Even sometimes people, when I don't join your space, there's always another space somewhere where they also the same discussions, the same issues we are discussing, they're also being discussed in other forums. So we just have to keep watu wavumilie tu. It's 2 years hii miaka mingi, and because the current this current MPs, they know, and me I know they I know they some of them even nowadays they don't want to come to their they don't want to even come to their functions. They don't want to come to functions of their local jurisdiction, the counties. I mean, they're wherever the constituencies where they lead, because they know the ground is really, really, really disappointed. And it's just good to say that we have an opportunity to set or rather change the way this
pipita na ismo mesema kweli, lakini nakuuliza unao msee afikiri hakuna mali yeye afikiria hakuna enda
unajua
nasema kumtoa itakuwa ngumu, so people have to be serious kumtoa.
Exactly, I agree with you.
People have to be serious to kumtoa, kwa sababu
sasa watu wanajua hiyo time maybe okay, walikuwa wanasikia, they never really experienced it.
One at a time. You have to be.
No, what I'm saying is now we call it being conscious. We're calling ourselves the conscious community. That tumekuwa tukidanganywa kwa hizi politics for a very long time. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. That's a long time kushinda watu. You cannot.
Unajua mzee ameshapiga hesabu za 10 years. Sio utamtoa.
No, mtadili tu na yeye. Pole.
Haya, sasa tutaleta hapo.
Tutadili tu na yeye kwa ballot, haina noma. Anyway, if I wish to just pia niendelee tu kusikiza wengine, even as you carry on the discussion. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, as Architect says, more for your submission. It's 7:35 p.m. East African time. You're listening to Home Run EPP. Remember to get your merchandise updates on Home Run EPP and even blogs on tricklecamp.com, our website where we distribute everything that is Home Run EPP. So don't forget tricklecamp.com, TRIKLECAMP.com, tricklecamp.com. Check it out. It's also on the pinned tweet right there on my account as well. You can come and talk to us. And I want to have more than Pop on this mic because Pop is actually just repeating the same thing. And I want to have my conversation progressive. And the conversation here is the IBC has a say on the right to recall. And they're saying that they do not have a procedure on how they're supposed to recall members of parliament. So I would want to hear from you what your thoughts are as well. And also, I was talking about the Tanzanian embargo on business people in Kenya. I'll be giving you a list of that after the submission from Pope. I'll be pulling up that submission from Tanzania and the businesses you cannot do. So, Pope, nataka utupatia a structured submission on what your thoughts are on the day's conversation. That is the IBC, the right to recall, and of course, that issue of Tanzania business people and the way they're treating us.
Okay, IEBC obviously watafanya tu comedy kwa sababu nobody has ever been recalled. Tuambiane tu ukweli, nobody has ever been recalled. Shao na MP mmoja okay, Red ali quit nini, alitoka ile kuprove tu yuko na watu hiyo Lang'ata. Salitoka na kanda kava na chama ingine na akashinda. Any other person hakuna hata mmoja. Mi napenda facts. Haya, what was the other question? Okay, IBC, and then IBC ndio nasema it will be a big itakuwa kitu kubwa sana kwa sababu IBC obviously ni kama referee. Okay, mimi ni mtu wa ball. Magame zile nimecheza huko home, we cannot lose. Tunafungwa aje nyumbani? Hata ref anajua lazima tushinde game. Si ref ndio IBC. Lazima tushinde game. Tunafungwa aje kwa nyumba yetu, kwa mtaa yetu? Hatuwezi lose hiyo game. Mimi nichacheza ball tuseme 2 hours, lazima tufunge to equalize. Hii team haiwezi tushinda, inatushinda aje? Tukienda kwao pia tunajua hatuwezi washinda huko kwao. Okay, mimi ni Wajiriko Maringo, huko kuna talent, extreme talent. Watu wa Marisho wakikuja Jeri hawezi tufunga, wanajua ball lakini hawezi tushinda. Hiyo game haitaisha. Hata umetufunga sijui bao 2, lazima tukomboe na tuwapige 3. Hiyo game haitaisha. Tutacheza hata 3 hours. Tukienda kwao the same thing. Tutacheza hiyo ball hadi tumefunga sijui 2. Hiyo game haitaisha mpaka wafunge 3. Ref ni wao. Hiyo nimezoea. Hiyo ndio IBC sasa. The home team has to win. So nimezoea. PP. Mimi nimezoea zile vitu za unfair. Nimeshazoea. I'm okay with it. Alafu, what I wanted to tell you. Yani, hii mambo ya politics. Wacha mtu mwingine aongee. Alafu ndakuja baadaye. Kwa sababu inanikasirisha, wacha mwingine aongee.
I think hii ni wakati poa yako ya kuongea kwa sababu tuko wachache kwa mic. I think this could be a good time for you to
kidogo. Wacha Red hataki kuongea. Red anataka kuongea alafu nitarudia after Red.
Red-handed Republican, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Okay, yes. For example, Nairobi, people want to recall Esther Passaris. Let's say even the law, let's say even IEBC stood up and said that the law is good as it is, everything is in check. If you bring the signatures, we are going to recall, we are going to approve them and start the process. Recalling Esther Passaris, you would need 30% of voters in Nairobi County to sign. 30% of Nairobi County is around 800,000 voters. 800,000 in 30 days. You explain to me how it is possible. That's why these laws are, that's why the High Court called these laws discriminatory, and why the IEBC is also finding trouble, because it is logistically impossible to collect 800,000 signatures in 30 days. It's actually not possible.
Lakini
Like,
unajua Nairobi kweli?
talk to
Unajua
me,
Nairobi?
Don't mute your mic. People don't jump onto others. Nyamaza, so umesema utaongea after red. So mute your mic.
No, I welcomed the question, but here, Nini, 800,000 voters in 30 days is logistically impossible. For example, if for example we were to divide that work, let's say me, I was given a role. Let's say you get 800 people. Na waambie kila mtu akuje na signatures 1,000. Right? How many signatures would I, as an individual, collect? I'm supposed to collect 1,000 signatures in 30 days. In one day, if it takes me 5 minutes to write down a person's name, their ID, and their signature, how many signatures would I collect in one day?
You also have to do a photocopy of the ID, otherwise that is null and void.
Oh, okay, great. You also have to do that photocopy of the ID, right? You can imagine how long it would take me just to get to 200. Let's say it takes me 5 minutes to get the person, give me your name, give me your ID, I photocopy it. Next. And I'm working 20 hours a day at Asilali. 20 hours a day, that's 1,200 minutes divided by 5. That would be what? That would be 240 signatures if I'm sleeping 4 hours a day. 240. Now, the signatures I collect cannot be the same. If I'm given 1,000 people, the signatures I collect as a person cannot be, the same individual cannot go and sign somewhere else. Kumaanisha, we'd have to congregate. After that day, I bring my signatures. The other 800 people bring the signatures they've collected, and we look and see kama kuna any duplicates. Right? Completely logistically impossible. It is not something that you can do in 30 days. You remember the Raila Odinga-led collection of signatures, and this is led by a party with offices in almost 30 constituencies in this country. Their signatures were rejected, and these are people with lawyers. Kina James Orengo are senior advocates. We're talking about people who know the law. Sasa sisi kama vijana, how are we going to be able to do it if the likes of James Orengo, John Mbadi, Raila Odinga, Anyang' Nyong'o, Edwin Sifuna, these are people who know the law juu chini. When they're collecting signatures, they know what they're doing. Na wanaenda wanaambia hii signature inakaa kama ng'ombe. It is not a legitimate signature. And these are people who are organized. So you can imagine how hard it is for us normal people to be able to do it. And I can assure you, even if we divide ourselves into 800 people and everybody is to come with 1,000 signatures, by day 4, the police will be beating us and tear-gassing us wherever we are meeting. Kama nimeweka tent mahali watu wakuja wa sign hizo signatures, I can assure you by 8 a.m. kutakuwa na tear gas hapo. all documents we've taken zitachukuliwa. By the time tunawapeleka kotini, those 30 days have passed. So we also need to ask ourselves, how if the period for recalling an MP is only 2 years, like for example, it's 2 years after the election and 1 year before the next election, which means this period started last year, 2024 August. If we had started last year, I mean, we occupied parliament, which should be even a signal. We should have unionized at that time, because it's a signal that now we occupied parliament physically during the protest. Therefore, now later on, we are going to occupy it legally as legislators and MPs. If we had started doing that process last year, by now we would be very, very far. But Kenyans, as usual, watu wa last minute, we waited for 2024 iishe yote. 2025 ndio hii inaenda kuisha, tushapita June. Tunajua venye miezi huenda haraka June, we already starting August. Saa hii ndio all of a sudden watu wanakumbuka, by the way, we can recall. And when people say it is commendable to be tribeless, it's commendable to be leaderless, but it's absolutely ridiculous to be partyless. Why? Because the IEBC is now calling for by-elections for all the constituencies where there are no MPs, which are supposed to happen by December, I think. Can you imagine how great it would have been if we had a party and for this Gen Z revolution, and that party actually puts up candidates who are Gen Z, or whoever Gen Z choose to be to run for those seats, to actually be there. But what are we going to see? In December, you will tell me, you're going to see ODM, you're going to see Jubilee, you're going to see Gachagua has even beaten us, he's there with his DCP, and you're going to see DAP-K. Every other Gen Z will be running as an independent candidate, and there's nothing as difficult as winning an election as an independent candidate. Sababu hakuna mtu anakuja na wewe. For example, if ODM decides to put up a candidate in Kasipul, all the MPs wa ODM wenye wametoka hiyo region watakuwa na huo candidate campaign. All of them, ndio huyu, sisi tumekubali huyu. But you as a Gen Z independent candidate uko peke yako. Hakuna mtu wa constituency nyingine anakuja kukusupport. Hakuna mtu ako na jina kubwa anakuja kukusupport. Therefore, I'm actually finding it very difficult to imagine that we are waiting for Maraga to form a party instead of forming our party ourselves and asking Maraga kuja ukimbie na chama yetu. And also looking for all those people that you love, those people that you want to be MP in your constituency. Uende na chama yako waambie, sisi kama chama tumesema wewe ndio tunataka ukimbie kama MP. But instead, what are we doing? We're waiting for Gachagua to start DCP, and then we're saying anybody who is in DCP is a tribalist. We're waiting for ODM to continue being in broad-based and saying anybody who is in ODM is a crook. We're calling you DA crooks. But as I always say, during those by-elections, and even in the general election next year, 2027, you're not just going to be voting for president. You're going to have 6 ballot papers. 6. All those 6 ballot papers, they'll be candidates. The IEBC does not want about 1 ballot paper, for example, for MP, to have 300 candidates. Ikae kama hizo scroll za medieval times, unaangusha ina roll kutoka hapa hadi kona ya Rome, like tissue paper. They will make sure they sieve through. If you're 300 independent candidates, I can assure you around only 5 or 6 will make it to that ballot paper. But the people of ODM, what do they know? That kama kuna candidate wa ODM, hata hawataki kujua jina yake, watampigia kura. Watu wa UDA wanajua kaa candidate ni wa UDA, hata hawataki kujua jina yake, watampigia kura. Wewe unadhani shida yako ni William Samoei Ruto. He is just one of your problems. The second problem is those people who passed laws that William Ruto has told them to pass. And if in that ballot paper, you're just going to tick Maraga or to tick Okia, but you don't know who you're going to be voting for those other seats, I can assure you, Parliament, by the end of the 2027 election, even if Maraga becomes president, Parliament will be ODM, Jubilee, UDA, DAP-K, DCP in Ford Kenya. Because a party gives you so much relevance. A party gives you so much audience. A party means that kama ni Nairobi County, sa ile Sifuna ana run for senator, akikimbia kutafuta kura, hayuko peke yake. Ile constituency ameenda kupiga kura, ku campaign for kura for senator, ule MP anakimbilia hapo wa ODM, ako na yeye hapo juu ya gari. Ule MCA kwa hiyo ward specific yenye Sifuna ameenda kucampaign, huo MCA pia ako hapo. Women rep pia ako hapo. Governor pia ako hapo. Wako watu sita. Watu sita, kila mtu amekuja na watu wake. Ndio maana unaona hizo rally zimejaa watu. Because every single candidate is there. Wanafuatana pamoja as a unit. But us, we don't want to be a unit. We are afraid of being a unit. We are saying we don't want a leader. We don't want a party. But how are you even in revolutions, how Museveni got into power? He got into power through a militia, not even military. Alienda kwa the bushes, akachukua watu ambao ni leaderless na partyless, nizo vitu zote, na akawa convince, I'll be your leader, let's take up arms and let's remove this government from power. And that's how Museveni got into office. So at the end of the day, as much as you want William Ruto to go, as much as you want all these MPs to leave office, they must be replaced by human beings. And those human beings have to be you. And you cannot be united as independent candidates. Sababu John Seremani atasimama kama independent in a certain constituency, mi nisimame kama independent in another. Lakini message ile John Seremani anasema labda ni tofauti na yangu, ama ile mi nasema ni tofauti na yake. Lakini Pope atasimama labda tuseme na DCP or DAP-K. Just giving an example. Yeye akisimama, amesimama na watu wote wa DCP huko wanakimbilia viti. Na wanasema the same thing. Same thing. And that is how utakuta Pope ameingia mbele ya John Seremani na mbele yangu. To give an example, mmeona Caswell. Mwenye kumenda Caswell first started as a leaderless, partyless, and all that. Akakimbizwa hadi akaingia Nation Center na Matia Gas. What did he decide in the end? It is better to be the leader of the Gen Zs in ODM than to pretend to be a leader of the entire Gen Zs. He decided he'd rather be a small fish in a big pond because a big fish will bring him food, rather than being a big fish in a small pond where that pond kila mtu anatafuta chakula yake, hata hakuna unity. Kila mtu anaenda kando kando. Now he's in the Mandela Institute. Now he's whatever. He's talking to US senators and the US House of Representative members in the Mandela Institute, and in all those trips he's going. By the time Kasmal comes back, whether we like it or not, if there's an MP, if there's a person from the Gen Z revolution who is going to find themselves very quickly inside Parliament, it will be him and the ODM. Kina Hanifa, look at them. Wanasimama na kina Okia Omtata. If there's somebody, if ever there was a person from the revolution a lady from the revolution mwenye ataingia, it is Hanifa. Sababu hasimami peke yake. So as much as you want to be leaderless and partyless and you want to recall your MPs, just know the MPs are a unit. The MPs are a unit, and you had better be a unit yourselves. Thank you, Peter.
All right. John, I saw you come back to the mic. Talk to us. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a story here that is quite something, yeah, that I would want us to address as part of the trending topic. So don't go nowhere. John, do you have something for us before we hear from Zalenda?
Yes, Peter. I just wanted to say it was a bit comical kidogo too. I know there's a serious and there's a serious side to what Pope alikuwa anasema, which felt a little bit like doom saying. I mean, there's a possibility, but who knows the future? I remember before last year's, I'm just giving a brief on what has been said so far. Before things happened in June, I remember David Ndii saying politics is a contact sport because they never thought people would show up, and but people showed up. So life is full of surprises. That's number one. Number two, I think there was a window of opportunity. After things happen in the street, there was a window of opportunity where this thing could have very easily, very naturally consolidated into a political movement, like a political juggernaut with a political form. Unfortunately, it actually did. Sijui kama mnakumbuka, because there was a time when Morara really hit off. His timing was just about perfect. Yeah? Morara, he became the face of this, this thing consolidating into a political situation, which is the natural life cycle of a revolution, by the way. You have to get to that point. As I'm speaking to Red Hand's comment, unfortunately, I mean, you can look up what happened, but I'm of the opinion, Pepita, that and people can crucify me, but I'll speak my mind. Morara, if anyone has let down this movement, I would say it's him. Kwa sababu he had the perfect opportunity to consolidate the Gen Zs into a political movement. Because remember that time, Gachagua has not been impeached. And this is around July, August. I remember in July, kwanza ikianza tulikuwa tunatafuta, what's his name? Denzel, Denzel alikuwa amepotea. Like it was crazy. It was people walikuwa wanaanza kupotea. And that, during that time, July, ikiingia August, that was the sweet spot. And it did happen as nature, would want. But he didn't have those qualities. I think maybe he became too full of himself. Kuna venye alikuwa anaongelesha watu. People around him were saying the funds for the Inject Party are not transparent. There's a Mkura team. I don't know, Peter, I'm sure you know about Mkura. They approached him. They said, we want to run your party using this system, which would actually, make things, we were talking about accountability. We wanted a party that was accountable, and we could actually use technology to do that. But I spoke to the devs personally, and they didn't leave very happy. They were kind of rejected for that. So it died. The aspirations for a political culmination of the Gen Zs kind of died off, and it left a void. I don't want to speak too much, Peter, but it left a void which Gachagua saw. And this is why he launched his party after his impeachment, of course. But he saw this void that was not being filled. Unfortunately, many of our people are still stuck in, and they are good principles. They've helped, leaderless, Nini. But at some point, it should have been that this Gen Z political monster would have been the opposition in form. But I think going forward, I can never rule out the possibility of surprises, because I think as a country right now, we are in an existential danger. And I don't know, I wouldn't speak too much about how things should be, because I don't know how it will be. But I can just say, Pipita, that at the end of it all, when we are dealing with the right to recall, the point is, we are here now, okay? We can't gloat over, we can't look up to the past and say what happened, nini, but we are here. Tumejipata hapa. What can we do to get ourselves out of here? So I just wanted to put out that history, Pipita, because it's so important. Hata ndio maana Kasmuela, that's what he saw, like this thing is like, of course, Pierre, maybe there's personal interest there, but who doesn't have personal interest? But his reasons was, I saw this thing was going nowhere. And there's some legitimacy a little bit to that, So at the end of it all, I really hope we come out of this thing alive. I wouldn't say ati tuvumile. There was a guy who alikuwa asema tuvumile. If things can happen through the street, so be it. But we also have to prepare for a political realization of this thing. Back to you, Pipita.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to Home Run with Pippi.
Welcome to Home Run with Pippi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is MC Pipita. Thank you so much for being here with us today, this beautiful Wednesday, Tuesday. This beautiful Wednesday, it has been at least sunny. Yeah, on Monday, we started the week very gloomy. So, today we are having a trending topic conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, the IEBC today came out with a statement after the spat of statements from leaders talking about they are going to steal the election. They have the people are also being told that what tutajaza numbers, and the IEBC also has also been under the spot because of getting people into recall their leaders. Now, the IEBC came out and said today that the framework to recall your MCA is there. But the MPs are the ones who are supposed to set up the framework to recall your MPs and senators, and they have not set it up. So right now, if you try to recall your MP, they'll just go to court and say, that was declared unconstitutional, and they'll still go back to office. So I don't hear your opinion on that as well, on that conversation. So that is the ongoing conversation, and I'm seeing new faces. And I would like to just remind you that Home Run in PP is a community-led platform. What does that mean? We are supported and sponsored by you, the listener. So if you like what you're doing, you can go into that Tipja line, 0721948229, and drop your support. And of course, you can hit on tricklecamp.com. That is on the link on my pinned tweet to check out our merchandise and also get some of our merchandise to support as well. So 0721948229 is the number. Pale hivi kwa sasa tuko katika 0 Kwa hivyo mtu aingie pale kwenye Tipja line aweze kutukwamua. And of course, as we are getting into this conversation, I see we have Mzalendo, who is next online. I'm going to go to Mzalendo Culture, then Sankale, just to hear their thoughts on all this that is going on. Mzalendo.
Thank you so much, Peter, and the entire comrades who are in the battle together with us. Peter, I just want to say that the right to recall an MP is not an easy one. Huh? The right to recall an MP is not an easy call, as Kenyans, or as we think it is, because if you digest Article 104 clearly, Article 104, there was an act of parliament that was enacted that requires that before a recall is made, this particular member of parliament must have gone through due process ya law na koti imempata na hatia. Kama ni hatia ya corruption imeapproviwa kotini. Kama ni hatia ya kuforge certificates imeapproviwa kotini. Kama ni hatia ya kuiba kura imeapproviwa kotini. Kama ni hatia ya integrity and leadership and integrity issues, it has been proven by a court of law. So it is not a walk in the park. You know, these guys, somebody said these guys are united. They knew very well if they left it open, then we would be recalling them day in, day out. So they tightened the rules. They enacted an act that tightened the rules. Like I was going through the document on recalling Pasaris. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that document is dead on arrival, because now you are accusing Pasaris of not giving how CDF is being spent. She doesn't have access to that. But actually, these guys tightened the rules on how to recall them. And I want to also to add something. Somebody mentioned Kasamuel. I want to say that wherever there is a revolution, a movement, there are opportunists. So somebody like Kasamuel, opportunists. So he took advantage of the opportunity that was available. And I also want to remind dear comrades of this. I remember sometimes last year, we went to the register of political parties. We wanted to register Gen Z as a party. Peter, that name, the registrar of political parties, Anderetu alikataa akasema it is inagawanya Wakenya kwa misingi ya umri. Tulijaribu kumwambia Gen Z simply means generation zote, not what you think. She refused because what? These people receive instructions from the executive, and the executive knew well that the party Gen Z would easily resonate with Kenyans, so they won't allow it happen. They won't allow it happen. So they refused the name because they knew it was going to resonate well with Kenyans. It was going to be received just the same way. If you remember 2005, after the Chungwa banana referendum, parties refused to register ODM as a party. It forced the likes of William Ruto to jump through the fence, waingie pale ndani ndio ODM ikuwe registered as a party. But now we didn't have the muscles to do that. And just to conclude, Peter, I want to say that I have been lost so much because I was nursing a rubber bullet injuries during the last demonstrations zile zilioka, but niko sawa saizi, I can now walk na hata nime report back to work saizi niko sawa. I remember there was a time I was trying to reach you, your number was not working, but I was actually hit by a rubber bullet on my thigh on that fateful day in Kitengela, but saizi niko fiti, nimepona, I thank God. And na nimepona, nimerudi back, I am strong. I am saying this, if I die in the streets, I die fighting for my rights, and now it's one term, Ruto must go. Thank you so much.
5, 4, 3, 2,
Welcome to Home Run with Pippi.
You're listening to Home Run with PP, ladies and gentlemen. And I see Mzalendo ako na sisi, but hao wengine wametoroka wote at the same time. How coincidental. Wameenda tu fwa. Hey. Okay. Sawa basi. Nimewasikia. Let's see what's going on in the comment section. Sumia says we gave ourselves a constitution that stipulates how we are to be led. Why do they bring middlemen who we've abdicated their powers to Ruto instead of protecting the basic freedoms enshrined in the constitution? Oni Sunya anauliza hiyo ni deno. Ivory anasema, why are you dismissing even before trying? Exactly. Aya, Bita Haba anasema Raila si ako na yeye sahi na huyo ndio mlimpigia kura. Alikuwa anauliza Pop hiyo swali. People are tired, those signatures can be achieved. Ivory believes they still can get the signatures to recall Esther Passaris. So, what are your thoughts on that? And of course, there's this story I told you I was going to run shortly. So after the submission by John Seremani, I'm going to play a clip here of a story that has really touched me as well. And since today is trending topic Wednesday, I'm going to have to play it. John Seremani.
Samani Pipita, I need to drop again, but I just wanted to maybe ask, because I've been trying to look for the information as to whether IEBC would accept electronic signatures, because that would make it very easy to do it in 30 days. If not, I think that's something that can be enforced, hopefully through the courts. I don't know, but there has to be, a digitization of this thing, because sababu there's no way you can walk around Nairobi unless, I mean, it's even safe. I believe was it Red Hand or somebody who mentioned that if you go door to door, they can organize goons, they can tear gas you, they can. So I'm wondering if there's any information about it, maybe somebody can come up and mention, but I'm still looking for it. I think it's a really good possibility.
Okay, thank you for that, John Seremani. I see Sankale has joined us. Sankale.
Yes, PPT.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Yes, talk to me.
Pole, my wifi ilikuwa imefanya ile kitu. Ni kama mtu wa
wifi. Karibu.
Asanti. So, Pipita, I think I'll side with John. Like, tuko very, very, very far away. History ya kurecall in peace ni story ya jaba. People who, kuna watu tu wataogelea na hii story, waendelee kuonekana wana move na hii story, lakini hakuna mahali itafika. You want to trust me? You want to believe me? Wait until hii recall ya Esther Passaris mukiona imegonga mwamba. I'll side with John vile amesema. There are people like Kasamuel, deep down in their heart, walikuwa wameanza hii revolution wakiona na nini na ya change, but along the way wakarealize we fighting a battle that some other people wanaogelea kwa jasho zetu, vile Juliani alisema. Because utafind, let's be real, Pipita, who brought to us Okiya Mtata? Because at some point internet ilikuwa imejana Okiya the 6th. Tulianza na Matiang'i the 6th. All of a sudden tukaenda Okiya the 6th. Now tuko Maraga the 6th. Nani huwa anatupeleka hivi? That's a question you should ask yourself. Kuna mtu ametoka kusema hapa saa hii ati we wanted to register a party. You and who? They wanted to register a party called Gen Z for their own political mileage. Na Pipita, nimekuwa kwa hizi spaces for a while na nimestudy a lot. Wengine tunajifanya tuko na wao, na haki ya Mungu hatuyuko na wao, wako hapo kujifaidisha. At least Vipita, sikuchochi. The first time niliingia kwa space yako nikaona tip jar, nilisema huu ni kebaso. Lakini ile raundi nimepiga, heri wewe mara 100. Heri wewe mara I don't know. Heri wewe mara 100. Na hata kama watatry kurecruit wa join, manze tunaenda tukiwasoma, na with the time tutaenda tukiwaanika. Hao watu wanatuchezea akili, wanatuambia tuende maandamano. Wengine wako UK, wengine wako Dubai, wengine wako come on. Tunakufa wao wakiwa huko. Niwaulize tu ukweli, wewe unaijuningi hizi spaces kila wakati. Kuna wengine tunapatananga na wao hapa. Nimetry kupush twende tuone Maraga. I swear I even have contacts for some of them. Lakini hawawezi ni allow niende nione Maraga. Why? Because nita inject ukweli. Nitauliza Maraga maswali za ukweli. Nawaambia nda recruit some of the listeners hapa ama speakers wenye kama huyu John siwezi muacha. Twende tuone Maraga. Then acha tutengeneze movement tukiwa pamoja. Watari group juu wako na interest zao. By the way, mtu amesema ka Samuel ni snitch. Kuna so many snitches, ni vile amjafunguka macho. I think at least hata ka Samuel alideclare intentions zake, akasema atakufa na kasongo wake. But trust me hii internet si vile ilikuwa anymore. Hii internet imekuwa ni business. Wengine wasaidike, wengine wafaidike, wengine wakufe kwa jasho zetu, wengine wakulie kama history mnasema ya kurecall MPs. I swear and I promise you guys, tuone hata MP moja atakuwa recalled. Akiwa recalled, wallahi I'll give you my number, ndakutumia kakitu. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo itafanyika. But kama tungekuwa genuinely, watu wangekuwa genuinely, watu wanapush hizi vitu, MPs tungewa recall wote. But some of them are working with the government, lakini wanajifanya tu wako na sisi. So wewe kuwa mjanja, jua ni pande gani utakuwa. In fact, Pipita, sikupei credit. One thing nimelike about wewe kwa hii jungle, wewe unajihasulia tu kivyako. Wewe hauyuko na wao. Na hata kama utatry recruit, enye intention zako ni clear. Sometimes utaleta space ya politics, sometimes utaleta space ya community. Uko so neutral. Na naona uko so harmless, hakuna mtu anakuharm. So guys, ukiingia kwa hizi spaces, funguka macho. Pipita, sijui kama najicontradict, but mimi nimeona acha niongee ukweli. Can you hear me, Pipita? Ama nimepotea?
Yeah, I can hear you. Nakupata.
Like Pipita, me I'm so frustrated. I'm very much frustrated to a point ninajiuliza, what kind of a fight are we fighting? Wengine watatuambia Ruto must go one term, twende to occupy State House, twende to guys, at the end of the day wata regroup, waende wa approach a certain person. This time maandamano, kuna wengine watapata funds from nowhere or from somewhere. At the end of the day, wanataka hizi space sisi tutumike. Na sikatai, Ruto must go, na lazima aende. Hata akienda kesho iko tu sawa. Lakini wengine wache kututumia. Wengine wanataka kujenga muscles zao za politics through us. Pipita, I have a question for you, my brother. I can't say you are leaderless, because I can't say I am leaderless, because mimi kujoin space yako ni kumaanisha na I believe in your leadership. The way wewe una lead this space. In other words, I consider you a leader. So nikisema I am leaderless from now on, I'll be lying to myself. Ndakuwa nikiishi in illusion. Let me ask you, Pipita, this. If all bigwigs, whatever Twitter, will come together and then to form one platform, tukue na space moja sisi wote, na tukue na hiyo space for the next 2 months, tuifanye hata kama ni kwa wiki mara 3. From there to recruit members, wenye watakuwa representatives wetu. From there to form a political party. Si tutawin this is just a question for you, Pipita. Si tutawini war. But the moment to go,
yeah, sure.
But the moment to go, unatry kuambia people such a thing, yes, watasema, yes, we can. But the moment utatry kuambia hivyo, ukitry kuwa reach out now, sasa, maybe through their contacts, maybe through their DM, wa kusnob, do you think we can win this battle? Because everybody wants a cake for himself. That means hakuna difference kubwa sisi na wenye wako kwa government sahi, because tumekataa kushikana. Kuna mzee mwingine nimesikia akisema hapa ameitaje huyo msichana aitwa Hanifa bana, if Hanifa genuinely alikuwa nataka kutusaidia sisi kama youths, anafanyanga nini na kina Kalonzo Musyoka? If Billy Mwangi anatakanga kutusaidia, anafanyanga nini na kina Gachagua? Siri hata ka Samuel yako kwa government, by the way, no double standard. Nikiwaambia hivyo, na when you tell them the truth, they hate you. Hata hawatawahi kupatia mic kwa spaces zao, kuzo wanajua utakuja kuambia ukweli. So if these people tunaweza join all of us Pipita, and we speak as one movement, we can win. But so far the whole thing vile inaenda, it's dying slowly, na watu wanaenda wakikuwa enlightened. Last nimeona mmesema ati IBC tuta recall MPs, tutaanza na Esther Passaris. Angalia tu hiyo bill ya Esther Passaris, hakuna kitu hapo, nothing. Hata hakuna mali ni PR tu watu wanatafuta ndio washinde, waonekane hao ndio wako juu. I'm telling you guys, tufunguke macho. Kama utataka kufight the fight, wewe fight. Kama utataka tutoe Ruto, by the way nimerealize mimi ndakuwa na kura yangu kama 2027 nitatoa, lakini maandamano mengine Pipita ya kuchocho, mimi sitachocheka anymore. Mimi sitachocheka anymore. Na Pipita, nikikupatia challenge, unaweza kuleta hao big week wote, si wote, at least hata kama ni 15 or 20 kwa one platform. Can you be able?
Hapana bwana, wewe leave me out of it bwana. Leave me out of it. Ukiwaleta pamoja, I'm ready to be number one, but mimi siendi kufanya hiyo kazi. You know how it goes. I don't have that time.
True. I think hata
just leave me out of it. Wale wanakuja. Wewe umeona wapi eti tumekuwa na mkutano ya Radio Citizen, Radio Inoro, hizo zote zimekaa chini na radio moja. Zinakuanga once in special occasions. So wacheni kutupatia necessary pressure. There's a reason why you look at spaces. Kuna watu wamefanya various spaces hapa hivi. A lot of spaces going on. Kuna watu hadi wanahama between spaces. It is very it is also good to have that the democratic space ikuwe open, kwa sababu nasema hata wewe kuna space unaenda watu wanakunyima mic. So what happens if you come to the space and they are hosts or co-hosts? Si watakutoa kwa mic. That is the reason why. So let everybody have their own chance to speak. Mtu ana host watu 500, a host huko, so long as the message should be very clear that corruption should end and must end for our country to be better. Kama message iko that way, then we are going to be far. But otherwise, easy madrama mingi mimi siko hapo. Go talk to that big wig elsewhere.
I think nilinotice when I'm smart, because every time hutaki kujihusishana na mtu wowote. And you are very smart. I started saying you are very smart. And I think if hii journey tutataka tu kuiwin sisi as individual, as youths, tuchukue kura yetu vizuri, tungoje 2027, tutapeleka tu mafala home. Na kura yako moja na yako ingine zikifika 5, enyewe mafala wote tutawapeleka home. So that's my point. Na mwenye yako na akili, at least afikirie kitu.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Sankale, for that. I see Dr. Mofo has joined us. It's 24 minutes past 8. Dr. Mofo, habari ya saizi?
Hi, Pipita. How are you doing?
I am well. I hope you are as well.
Yeah, I'm good. Pipita, I understand there's an initiative to collect signatures. What are the signatures for, Pipita?
Oh, we are taking Esther Passaris home, but you have to be a voter for Nairobi, so I don't qualify. But we are taking Passaris home.
But much as that's the initiative, right, to take her home, it has been said that there's no legislative framework to take her or to recall anybody. Why would it be necessary again to proceed with the signatures?
You know, Dr. Mofo, I've told you, I've started by saying I'm not a voter in Nairobi, and I've already been cooked enough using the IEBC story. So For me, basically, is to just observe the situation, because in all situation I stay observing.
Yeah. Well, Peter, I don't know whether you're getting where I'm saying. And I look at it and I wonder, because I've looked at what Marvin Mabonga has written, what he's calling the press release. And he said, one of the things he said, let us be clear, this is not just a legal loophole, it is a constitutional betrayal. So that's what he says. So he acknowledges there's a loophole. And whenever there's a constitutional loophole or there is a gap, you cannot be able to proceed unless you normalize issues, unless you regularize, you make the regulations, you put them in order. That's what we call, laying the ducks in a row. Unless the ducks are in a row, be able to start shooting, right? In this case, it brings me to, what the discussions here have been about. I've listened to people like Sankale, and Sankale, I don't have anything against him, but you could always tell what he will say anywhere he picks a mic, and not only him, every person. So it has become a point where we perhaps understand what our problems are, we understand what our solutions are, but we are not able to effectively move in a direction we want. We are held at ransom by some people. And these people are the politicians. These are the political class. And one thing I've insisted is, for me, I refuse to reason in a constitutional way. I refuse to listen to what the law says. What is the morality? Because the baseline is there is no equality whenever you talk about the Constitution. The Constitution, as it stands, is suspended. The Constitution is a document that is in force to restrain you and me, but to provide a free pass, to provide a field for the corrupt, the political class to steal, to corrupt, and nothing can be done against that. And until we realize that we are at war with a bigger monster, that will not be merely, will not be merely restrained by the Constitution of us having this kind of conversation. And that's why I say the greatest of the achievement we've had so far is whenever we spill ourselves on the streets. The revolution is the only way out. Sankale, like I said, I would always predetermine what you say. You say, let's meet Maraga. Where is Maraga being met? Where is he available for that? What tells you Maraga? What tells you Maraga is a force that we need? He is the face of change. What tells you Maraga has got the popularity? And that's why I say, and I said it from the beginning, when this Generation Z movement came about, I said from the beginning, I think I was muted, I said, I can tell you with certainty, the next president of Kenya, 2027, is not going to be Ruto. Because fair and square, we're going to send him home. And there are all intentions to do the same. But the truth be said, the person who takes our office is not going to be less than 50 years. And on basis of elimination, I can almost tell you who's going to take the position. Why is that so? Because change does not happen in space. I ask a question. You talk about the Gen Z, the numbers, the young people, the young voters. their proportion in the electoral list. I ask a question: whenever these people stage their public rallies, who attend those meetings? They are the young people. Are you telling me they do not know? They do not know what they are there for? Are you telling me they do not resonate with whatever language or whatever is being discussed there? And that's where we start burying our heads in the sand. So essentially, what I'm saying is, I do not have the silver bullet. I do not know exactly what you need to do as a movement, but the movement is there in air. It's a castle built in air. Essentially, this political class are going to have their way because there's no organization. But again, just like you ask here, I mean, look for a big thing that's going to happen in Kenya, like a big movement that's going to happen in Kenya, or a big topic that's going to be trending, that we require Kenyans to come together and have a conversation. That conversation will be hosted by Afrocentric. It will be held by somebody called Wanyama. It will be held by somebody called Ayo. These are people we don't know. But whenever such things happen, they come and call shots. You stay somewhere in a space for 2 hours, you never get a mic. Why? Because Wanyama, who we do not know who he is driving the narrative. Afrocentric is doing the same. Ayo is doing the same. You people keep talking about who is this boy who is in the US right now? Makaore.
Samuel.
Yes, Kasamuel. Do you know something, Kasamuel, Pipit, about Makaore? Makaore is a face of how egoistic some people can be. And I don't know why it becomes necessary for people to start thinking that Makaore is the hope they always recognize or identify with. Makaure, go look at his profile. He's got 134,000 Kenyans who are following him blindly. Who does he follow? Tell me the amount of ego you've ever seen anywhere by anybody. He does not follow even a butterfly. He does not follow a housefly. The ego. And you guys, you think you're gonna have a space someday when you have gonna be discussing pertinent issues and Makaure is gonna be there? He's gonna give you a lecture for 30 minutes? Oh man, you're all gonna tremble as he speaks. Oh yes, that's what we want. He followed no fuck. What are you talking about, guys? We are confused, man. So by the end of the day, I just leave it to you. We are at the behest of the political class. We wait for them in 2027. They fill their number, they fill their candidates the way they want, and we're gonna follow there. And essentially, remember, the tribal narrative is gonna be the bottom line. Was gonna determine where you and me we throw our votes. Why? Because this is a ladder that is so perfectly designed by politicians to ascend to power. And whenever I tell people tribalism has no significance to you and me, it's only helpful to the politicians, and only when it divides me and you, just because somebody wants to ascend to power. And when he gets there, he's still for himself and his wives and the girlfriends, not for you and me. We are despondent, Pipita, but that is the bottom line. The egregious truth that is virtually always, invariably, incontrovertible. That's how it is, Pipita. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mofo, for breaking it down to us. It's 8:34 p.m. And you know, one thing I want to say is, it's a choice. It's a personal choice to follow someone who is not following you back. Hata mimi kuna watu ambao sija follow back. Si ati sitaki kuwa follow back, but saa zingine wanapata kwamba you're not even able to follow back. But 0 followers. Mlimuita traitor hapa hivi. You know, if you look keenly, you will see the people who actually benefited from these things. Big time. Yeah. So Red Hand Republican, I see your hand is up. I'm gonna give you the mic. Mtu aingie pale hivi kwenye tip July na weke hata 100 shillings isibaki 0 kwa siku ya leo. Red Hand Republican, talk to us.
Yes, Pepita. I would like to address some submissions, especially by Sankale and Dr. Mofo, but I'll start with Sankale. I'd like to start by saying that you asked Mzalendo why he was registering a political party for Gen Zs. You asked him as who? Well, Mzalendo said that he was registering a Gen Zote, like the catching slogan was Gen Z, meaning Gen Zote. It was not for Generation Z as such. Secondly, when you're forming a party, there is no, even if it was for Gen Zs, let's assume that Mzalendo was lying and he wanted to register a party for Gen Zs. There is no place, even ODM, that was formed by Raila Odinga, even DP or NAC that won elections in 2002, they did not go and get approval from every single Kenyan in the Republic that hii chama ni yetu sisi wote. It is not possible to do that. There will always be somebody who says no. It is not possible for people to be completely united. You cannot, for example, if for me, I wanted to run for a member of parliament for, say, Starehe, the elections come. Even if I win, you will see that I won, maybe I got 50,000 votes. The second one got 30,000 votes. The third one got 10,000. I only won because majority of the people from that constituency, or basically majority, I had a higher majority than my contestants, or I had a higher number than my contestants. There will never be a time, even you, Sankale, when you run for, if ever there's a time that you will run for a seat, there will never be a time where everybody in that constituency has agreed that you will be MP. Leadership is not given. It's not given. That there is no place where people congregate and decide that now you are the leader. Look at Gachagua, for example. Gachagua is impeached. As it stands, he cannot run for office, though there is a court case about it. But did he let that dissuade him from running a party, from starting a party? We know he's a tribal bigot, right? But he created DCP and he got over 1 million members already registered for his party. It's not that people he went around looking for, talked to 1 million people face to face. Ati wewe unataka kujoin DCP, wewe unataka kujoin DCP. He formed a party, put up a website, allowed people to register. And you see there are people who registered, there are people who didn't register. But for those who registered, the 1 million, that basket is enough for him to walk around and say that I have 1 million people. Kenya is made up of 50 million, but he only got 1 million. And that is enough for him to stand up and start saying that he's forming an opposition. So it is not that you have to get the approval of everybody for you to run a Gen Z party. And that is why that's why, for example, when I mentioned Casmuel, I am very pleased with Casmuel for how far he has gone. I mean, if anything, even if Casmuel by 2027, he ends up being a nothing and he goes back to what he was doing before the Gen Z protests, Casmuel has done more than me. He's already met Supreme Court justices. I mean, after even if me and Casmuel end up in the same point in life when we're 90, he has already toured. Even if we all end up broken, poor, and buried broke, his experiences are already higher because he he realized that he cannot get the approval of everybody. He decided that they are Gen Zs, but he knows ODM pia iko na Gen Zs. Hata kama Gen Z ni leaderless na tribalist, hakuwezi kosa watu fulani among the Gen Z wenye wako ODM. Na akasema, instead of trying to be a leader of all Gen Zs in this country, I cannot be able to. Wacha niende nilambalambe baba anieke hapo, because for me, his calculations, he knew that there's nobody as eloquent as him in the ODM Gen Zs. Angalia watu wa ODM, kina Dikembe December. How long has Dikembe December been in ODM? Huko tu wakienda kama PA wa watu wakifanya all the hard work. But who is going to the Mandela Institute? It is Caswell. How do you think December feels wherever he is? Because Caswell took an opportunity instead of he's, when we call him selfish and all those things, but let me tell you, there's nobody who becomes a political leader by caring for you. There's usually a selfish aspect of who they are. For somebody to know that I will run for office, na anajua even though I get people, nitatukanwa, look at, what's his name? Mukisa Kitui. Mukisa Kitui is a world-renowned economist. This guy was Minister for Trade during Kibaki government. After that, he went to some department in the UN, or was it the World Bank? I forgot what it's called. Very world-renowned, talking to leaders, talking to Secretary General of the UN, talking to presidents of different countries, right? And then he decided to come back to Kenya to run. Now, to come and to run for office. Na hata he could take 3 months after he announced na huko 2021. Already kulikuwa na video ishatokea ya him naked with his penis out. Amekaa tu kwa kiti, the mzee he is, and there's a chick who had already taken a picture, and that's how Mukisa Kitui lost all his relevance. Like when you run for that office, you know that every single dart that you have in your life, watu watakujia. So it takes somebody who is ready kutukanwa, anajua akienda atatukanwa, ataibishwa, and it is only a selfish, narcissistic person who can do that. So even Maraga, as much as I support him, I know ndani yake there is something selfish and narcissistic about him. I know he cannot be perfect, because running for office means that ako ready kutukanwa na aski vibaya na hiyo. Somebody who is like that, that is somebody whose cycle is not like mine. Finally, for Kina Hanifa and such, Hanifa, if there's somebody who has done more for this movement, sijui kwa nini Sankale unasema that there are things that Hanifa needs to do or something. If there's someone who's done more for this movement than Hanifa, you need to show me. You actually need to show me. Because I doubt, Sankale, that you and me have lost sleep during the night looking for money to pay for people in hospital to do surgeries. Mimi sijai lose sleep over that. I have seen videos, I have chanted where I can, but tonight I have to sleep and wake up and do my normal business of the day, work and everything. Anajitolea, anaitwa ngamia, anaitwa sijui nini, anaambiwa we ni mwizi, we ni nini, but she will never ever fail. She ran a fund of over 30 million shillings to pay for injuries gotten by Protestants, and those people were taken to hospital. They were admitted, they were attended to, and most of them came out of there alive. She did all that, and she did not do that so that she can be the champion of social media. There's somewhere where she was headed. Even now when she was doing that, she knew that hata kama nafanya kusaidia watu, pia mimi kuna kitu I want from this, and that is political office. So let us not expect that an angel, and Sifuna keeps saying this, don't expect that there is an angel who will come from above and yeye atakuwa selfless, atawasaidia, hataki ofisi na mtamtukana na hata lia na hata tafuta kiti ati so that all of you can be free, and then I retire, aende akae chini aseme congratulations to all of you and I've gone. You will never find such a human being on the face of this planet. Thank you.
All right.
Peter, back to
Thank you. Thank you. I can see you, your hand, Mzalendo. Sankale, 2 minutes, then Mzalendo, as we continue the conversation. Sankale.
Well, thank you, Peter, again for the chance. I really wanted to clarify some stuff that Red Hand has said. I never said Mzalendo alifanya makosa kutaka kuregister party ya Gen Z. That is one of the ideas I would really want all of us to do. But I only asked Mzalendo. I'm sure hakuwa ameenda kuregister hiyo party. Alisikia watu wanaenda kuregister party ya Gen Z. And it was a good initiative. But I asked him, who are those people who went to register the party? That was a question. About Hanifa, I only asked, bro, if we criticize Kasamuel, we are having double standard. Why? Because Hanifa, today we are seeing him with kina Kalonzo na kina Gashagwa, but we are here criticizing Kasamuel kwa sababu amejoin government. If 1992, Ruto hangekuwa student, Ruto was the Hanifa of 92. Alijoin Moi, akafundishwa tabia ya Moi, na no wonder anaongoza kama Moi. Ukiangalia Hanifa, asha join the other team, anafundishwa tabia ya hiyo team, na in future you are going to see another Rigathi Gachagua reborn through Hanifa. My last point as I finish, umeongea kuhusu Maraga. These are questions, these are food for thoughts, Red Hand. Have you ever met Maraga? Is there any Gen Z team of representatives yenye imekaa chini na Maraga na wakaongea na tuka have our way of our policy and how we want things to be run? I'm a pro Maraga, by the way, but this is just a question that I wanted all of us to ask ourselves. Who are these people representing us hapo juu kwa Maraga? Are we satisfied with them? Tuko leaderless. Are they our leaders? Thank you.
Peter, we're waiting for you.
Mzalendo. Mzalendo. Ni kama Mzalendo ameenda. Jaswiz, habari ya saizi?
Nzuri sana Pepeta, habari ya leo?
Niko salama kabisa, karibu.
Asante sana, hata mimi niko poa. Sina maneno mob, but niko tu na swali kidogo yenye ningependa kuuliza. But kabla sijauliza swali, hii issue ya kurecall MPs, tafadhali wa Kenya tutoe hii maneno kwa mdomo yetu. You can't recall an MP in Kenya. Hizo zinaweza fanyika tu kwa nchi zingine za pengine Amerika unaweza fanya hivyo. Hapa Kenya kwanza hata hizo signatures utatoka uende kuzisanya ama kuzitafuta, but a Kenyan will ask you for money so that you can get his or her signature. Hiyo ni number one. So hiyo mambo tutoe kwa mdomo yetu. Okay, 2027 tutaenda kuchaguzi, we'll go to the ballots. And I know William Ruto will be there. There are so many people who will be in the ballot. Wale wenye watawania hicho kiti cha urais. But Wakenya naona wanaongea ni kama sijui hao ndio watahesabu kura na hao ndio watatangaza. Sijaelewa kwa sababu tuko na chair wa IEBC who is given the mandate by the law, who is allowed by the law kuhesabu kura na kutangaza. In a situation where chairman wa IEBC atatangaza kuwa Ruto ameshindwa, mimi niko very sure William Ruto will go home. Lakini in a case where that guy will come up and say Ruto ameshinda kura, are you going to plunge this country into chaos ama mtafanya nini? Hiyo ni swali number one. Swali number two, Ruto is going home. Are you people going to bring Abraham Lincoln, Jimmy Carter, Yesu Kristo, ama mtatuletea nani? Ama nani mnapanga kutuletea? Asante sana Pipita.
Wacha nicheze jingle. Mimi.
You are listening to Home Run with Pippi. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Acha nisikize sauti moja mpya. Naona mwingine anaitwa Emmanuel. Sometimes I just want to hear what Kenyans feel. Unajua unaweza kuwa uko na hasira, you're living in a bubble, and when you're living in a sijui Dr. Mofo, if you mentioning kina Afro was actually being particular ama ulikuwa tuna mention kama examples, but ndio you sometimes as a host you might find yourself feeling biased towards some course or some conversation, and that is why I tell Sankale that we cannot bring all together all the big wigs. You see, it's a business of ego, and I am not in the war of that. Otherwise, saa zingine unapata tuko watu 10 hapa, and I don't mind. So yeah, most people do it for money, and when the money comes, wakishaekewa pesa, they will disappear, and that's why you see big wigs only do spaces wakati unaona it is you who slept with who, then they have a whole space to discuss. Hebu tuambie vile mlilala. Tulilala aje? Hey, what do you mean? Yeah. Na wanaume ndo wanakuanga wadaku zaidi. That is quite something. Wanaume ndo tunakuanga wadaku zaidi. Sisi ndo tunataka kujua what to. Ilikuwa aje? Eti alikuwa. And now, right now, we are getting into politics season. I don't know why we are in 2025 and we are very heavy into politics. Very heavy. Yeah. Saizi tunafaa tuwa tunaongelea agenda za nchi venye inaendelea. Somebody was telling me that right now as you're speaking, William Ruto has retreated again to putting in work. Leo walimu wameongezewa mshahara. Pesa mingi sana. Wewe. Kwani sinanga listeners walimu angalau muniekea hiyo addition yenu. Wameongezewa mshahara wa hela ndefu sana, 300 shillings. So yeni pale hivi kwa tip line muniekea angalau hata hiyo tip ya walimu hiyo. Mshahara. Mshahara ya walimu. Wa IBC inasema kwamba IBC there are no laws defining the grounds and procedures for the recall of an MP, including parliament only amended the laws to recall MCAs. So I don't know who is holding hostage the other one here. Vile ukisikia kina Jaswiz, kina Sankale wanaongea. I don't know who is hosting the other one. Holding the other one hostage here. I don't know if it's the government or it's the people, because I feel like one person is holding the other one hostage. Because if you look at the IBC looks like it's tumejiachilia hapa hivi, but we know exactly who. My question has been today that the Constitution of Kenya 2010 came like an open blank check to, and I'm glad to see Wakili Esquire hapa, that the 2010 constitution come as a blank check for anybody who was in the National Assembly between 2013 and 2020 to form rules. And you see, they chose which ones to sort and which one not to, because part 2 of Article 104, Section 2 says that the parliament is the one which is going to decide. So I hope Esco is going to join in and help us answer that question. We are almost getting to the full time of the show. So just to remind you that Home Run with PP is a community supported platform. And if you like what you're doing, you can always go into that tip jar line and support us to keep the lights running on this side of the show. God with us, how are you doing? Oh, Mzalendo. Guy, nimekuwa nikijiongelesha. Guy. Oh, Lord. All right, Dr. Mofo, you have something to say? I see you're reacting on the mic, or you're just trying to tell me that I'm audible now.
Yeah, you're audible, Peter.
Okay, sawa. So I wanted to just play something here. E9 conversation, I think we'll just have to have another day. It's just supposed to be a conversation on its own. This baby saga. It is also a trending topic that we should also look into. God with us, I see you have requested the mic. Talk to us. Huyu ana request mic na hataki kuongea, namtoa kwa mic, ana request mic. Nisikuone hapa. Haya, na ukweli nilikuwa nimekaa sijawekelea kiboko, maybe ndio maana imekuwa hivyo. So yes, Dr. Erastus Equathon has Ethekwon has said that IBC cannot help you in recalling. So let us save time pia. Kuna vitu zingine tunafanya pia ni za emotions. I think some of the people who have spoken here wameongelea. And I would also want to ask Dr. Mofo, for example, do you think that sometimes we use a lot of emotions and we leave out reasoning? That is why we find out that this revolution keeps getting shortchanged and things like that. Mofo.
Peter, I couldn't put it better than you have. And that's why I said, Peter, we are talking like people who are learned, people who are educated, people who hold high profiles in high profession, high class professions like legal counsel and attorneys. People who have been admitted in the bar for representations or for having qualified as lawyers. But nobody saw that there existed a constitutional lacuna on basis of recalling a member of parliament. And the other thing, Peter, is you ask, clearly, who is holding the other one, ransom? It's a question of for how long will this be allowed to continue? A couple of years back, Peter, I mean, there was this question that was in the court the other time about how do you recall a member of parliament? And perhaps I think the lacuna that was explained then by the court was, they said there's got to be basis to recall a member of parliament having had sufficient time to evaluate their performance. And now again, at which bit do you say he has failed or he has performed? And a period in terms of threshold was provided for as 2 years. But now that it has taken 2 years, it is ripe to recall a member of parliament. That's the time now you talk about it. Then you are told you do not have a legislation framework to go about it. Then the next term, because this one is gone, right? So next, after 2027, the next life of the parliament, we ensure the framework is in place. We ensure that the 2-year period has been attained. Then we come up with something. Then again, something will emerge, which will certainly be constitutional. And yes, we are driven mostly by emotions. And of course, our desperations. And there's nothing bad as being desperate, Peter, because you do not know what you want. Anything that comes your way is a reprieve. And that's why I say, even a drowning person will hold on to a straw, because that's where he puts his faith. But unfortunately, we put our faith in the wrong place. We do not understand how important it is to hold our leaders to account. Peter, I've had these kind of discussions before. I mean, with a very learned mind. And you could see the emotions, how they spill. You know, somebody telling you that we do not need to use demographics, distributions in a country to address issues of development and distribution of resources. This is to say, Peter, where do you live? You live in Nairobi. Where do you identify your home as? Maybe somewhere in Korea, the Western or somewhere. Personally, I live in Nairobi. Where do I identify as my home? Is back in the villages. But my life has been tied in Nairobi, Peter. And so when you talk about the development, as a matter of urgency and necessity, the resources and development need to follow where people are. And that's why the discussions on 1 man, 1 shilling is important. Unfortunately, the politicians have taken this so far to say 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. I am not for the vote myself. The vote is only necessary to a politician. Mine is to see where I live, I've got access to good social amenities, roads, and that I don't spend 2 hours, 3 hours covering a distance of 4 kilometers to get to the office, just like it happens in Nairobi. And therefore, when we start addressing the issue of infrastructures and their placement, for example, talk of the express highway, talk of the bypasses, talk of the Thika road, somebody tells you no. The people who live in Thika, along Thika road, are communities from a certain region. And therefore, these people, they have disproportionately benefited at the expense of all of us. But man, Peter, you live in Nairobi, right? Do you want to spend 5 hours driving from Rongai to Nairobi to your office? It doesn't matter, Peter, if there exists a workable road that leads to your home where you go once a year, twice a year. But as a matter of necessity, where you live, you need to have clean water because that's where you live more. If we are digging, if, for example, we are drilling 20 boreholes in Nairobi, we're drilling 2 boreholes in your village. It's only common sense that we need to drill 100 boreholes to be able to sufficiently supply people in Nairobi. And those are facts. When you talk about these things, people tell you, because ultimately because of our emotions. We believe that some people have benefited because they have been at the helm of the governors for long. And that's why I am of the opinion and the strong proposition that the highest time that we think of how we can revolve the presidency. That's why the presidency has to come from the mountain. The presidency has to come from North Rift and go somewhere in Western, go somewhere in the coast, somewhere in Nyanza. Do you know why? It is not because there are benefits I envisage they will get. It is for me to have a total gratification, that is total justification for my subscription of thoughts that nobody will ever benefit by having their tradesmen in the State House. Nobody. Because their interests are diverted. Their interests are somewhere else. And as a matter of fact, when you are a symbol of national unity, it's not about time to start taking privileges from some people and swapping them with others. No, it's a question of necessity. Now, let's talk about the representation, the people's representation, because we've said the people's power will be expressed in 2 ways: directly, which rarely happens, or through their representation. Who are our representatives? The members of parliament, primarily, right? When you have a conversation with people who are emotional and you tell them, hey, look here, guys, that the parliament, among other roles it's got, is to legislate on on the sharing of the national cake, including how we distribute funds across the counties, across the regions. People will tell you, no, this one has been held at behest of the executive. And what does the Constitution say about the executive and the legislature? That there should be total division in terms of autonomy. But why do we allow the executive to go to bed with the legislature? It is because we don't ask hard questions to our people. And so, yes, it continues being emotional. It will continue being emotional up until at some point we shall ask ourselves, who are these people we sent to parliament? What are their interests? How much shall we charge them to vote for us to vote them? Because we charge the politicians for them to get these jobs. If somebody does not give you a packet of flour a day before the polls day, man, that person, despite how good he might be, how progressive his ideas might be, you don't identify with him. And so, yes, like Maraga says, these people, they use our money to buy our votes. And when they go to the office, they must repay themselves. And 2 years before the election, they even steal more so that they have enough to bribe you to be voted back. Emotions. Yes, they are. Thank you, Peter.
All right. Red Hand Republican, what would you have to say to us as final words on this conversation?
Pepita, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. First, I'd like to thank you for hosting us today. There were very important things to say today and to listen to. Secondly, I'd like to agree with most of the submissions that have been made today, that it is one thing to have a right to do something. It's another thing to execute that right. Somebody can give you the right to fetch water in a well, but if you don't have a road to go through that well, or there are lions and cheetahs between you and that well, you cannot exercise that right. That is just that's just the way it is. You have the right to recall your MP, but there are cheetahs and lions and tigers and wolves and elephants and cannibals and alligators between you and that right. Therefore, you must ask yourself whether you do indeed have that right. You may just have it by name, but by action, it's almost impossible. And that's why the head of the IEBC has said that for MCAs, your right is there and the laws are there and you can recall your MCA. But for MPs, there are still some roadblocks that you need to go through. And he's even ensured that he has sufficient protection for saying that, by saying that the court of law said some provisions in the law were discriminatory, meaning that not only do MPs not want to be recalled, that also the court of law said that law is discriminatory. So before you even recall your MP, you must first ensure that the court of law is on your side. Therefore, you're going to fight both the legislature and the judiciary before you are able to recall your MP, and hope that Ruto in the executive does not also ensure that you cannot exercise that right. So there are very many hurdles between you and exercising that right. So, thirdly, I want to mention I want to agree a lot with what Sankale has said, although there is only one thing that I want to tell Sankale, is that, as you say that, is there a panel of Gen Zs that are telling Maraga this or that? Or as you're asking, whether there are people who can follow you to ask Maraga hard questions. You must know that the same way that you are saying that there are no leaders in the Gen Z movement, even if you are able to gather all those bigwigs that you're telling Pipita to gather, there are Gen Z somewhere who will say ni nani amewatuma. Hizo maswali mmeuliza ni nani aliwatuma muulize. So if it is a fight between ati who has the right to represent Gen Zs, there will always be somebody who says, I did not send you. Therefore, as I've stated before, leadership is not something that is given to you. It is something that you must take. You must take it. Even Donald Trump was a Democrat. Then he became a Republican. And even before the 2016 election, even before the campaigns, the Republican Party itself was fighting him. He had to make sure that the population has heard him, that the Republican members who live among the people, like the actual voters, are with him before he could push the Republican Party to agree for him to be part of the nominees, and so that he can win the nomination to run as candidate. In the end, if there's ever going to be a Gen Z leader or a Gen Z party, it will not come from a group of from the entire nation of Gen Zs coming together and deciding that this is our leader. It will take somebody individually or as a group of, say, 5 or 6 or 10 to come together and say, you know what, tuunde hii chama. Na najua nini? Let us, among us 10, let us elect a leader. And then wazunguke wachukue wale watachukua kwa hiyo basi, wale wenye watakuwa wako. That is the only way that Gen Z party will work. If you think that it will be a completely unanimous decision by all Kenyans of Gen Z age to decide that they have a party and they have a leader, that is something that will never happen. It will take somebody with guts, with real guts, to say, wacha watu wanitukane, wacha watu wanitusi, wacha watu waseme hawakunituma, but as long as apate watu kadhaa, at least 1 million, to say that sisi tuko na wewe, he will move or she will move. So be prepared for that before the 2027 election, there will be somebody with guts who comes out and says, hii chama, nimeunda, Gen Zs, you're all welcome. I'm going to these dialogues, I'm going to these caucuses, I'm going to these meetings that Raila and Ruto has called, and I'm going to represent your interests. Na mtamtukana na mtamuita hizo vitu zote, but mwishowe atakuwa uko ndani. And that is the only way that it happens. It happened like that for Raila Odinga when he formed LDP and then later formed ODM. He did not go around Kenya asking people, tafadhalini, simnipatia permission ya kuunda ODM, simnipatia permission ya kuunda LDP. He did not do that. He just formed it, found people of like-minded individuals, na akaiunda, na katafuta watu wako wanashare his frame of mind. So that is basically what you should expect. So if you're planning to fight every person that decides to represent the Gen Zs, you're in for a long fight, because every single month there's going to be somebody who shows that they have guts. And finally, on the Gen Zs that I actually respect and adore, the Hanifas and the Casmuels and the whatevers, I really adore them because they are mature enough to realize it didn't take them to be 60 years old or 70 years old to realize that watu watakuchukia no matter what you do. And you just have to decide to walk the way you want, with the people that want to be with you, and gain as much leeway and leverage as you can get before time is up for you. And that's one thing I want to specifically say to Gen Zs. That's why you have the momentum, but you will not have that momentum forever. Because remember, you may be Kenyans, you may be paying VAT like everyone else, but as much as a government is brought in by the votes of the people, a government is run by the taxes of the people. And even if Gen Zs do elect a leader of their choice, that leader will get in through Gen Z votes, but he will rule based on who the majority who pay taxes, on what the majority who pay taxes say. A company that's like Safaricom that pays 120 billion in taxes will have more to say to any government that is formed than 7 million Gen Zs. You can take that to the bank. The CEO of Safaricom, just by himself, knowing that he can fund an entire parastatal from his company, he will say more to the government than you and I and all 7 million of us will ever say. Because in the end of the day, voting is done once every 5 years, but taxes are collected every day, salaries are paid every month, and budgets are funded every year. The taxes are the ones that determine how somebody rules government. So we will elect Maraga. I love Maraga. I will elect him. But once I vote for him, I know after nimepiga kura nimerudi nyumbani, when he is announced as a winner, if he does win and is given the sword and the constitution, once that whole ceremony is done, I know after that ceremony, hivi ataenda meeting State House, even if it won't be on the news, and the CEOs of Safaricom, Equity Bank, Cooperative Bank, KCB, heads of Kenya Pipeline, the biggest importers in this country, the Chinese contractors, those ones, they will be the ones who will be saying what they want done. Me, my vote will be done there, and I will just hope that as much as Maraga is listening to these big wigs who pay majority of the taxes, that he remembers that that he can't finyilia Kenyans, and that whatever they decide is will lead to an economy that is good for all of us, all those who voted for him and all those who did not. Thank you very much, and good night to everyone.
All right, thank you Red Hand Republican. Maana ninawaambia kwamba msicheleshe kichele, kwa sababu kwa sasa tunavyoongea kuna mchele uko kwenye port ya Mombasa ambayo imefanyiwa nini. Kwa hiyo namba ya M-Pesa bana, hii entertainment haizi kuwa bure.
Unafuliza ruabe.
Hey.
You are listening to Home Run with Pippy. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Edwin Makoti anasema pale hivi ndani ya kipindi, anasema kwamba let me just read the comment. Yeye ndo amefanya mpaka nikachezesha kichele. Wekeni bwana, siwezi kuwa na shilingi 4 kwa Fuliza na Buko bwana, hiyo ni mateso. Wacha tuweke pale comment ya Edwin Makoti. Good evening Pipi and listeners. Yenyewe hii story ya Rise, sijai kutana na mtu anaandika hii story HII kama hii. Edu, wedi mzee. Hii story ya Rise ni gani tena? Yani we have watu wamepanda mpunga tayari kuvunwa, but kuna msee ameamua kupiga biz. Yes, so apparently there is a story that it's actually not a story. It's a Gazette notice that I put my eyes on yesterday. Haven't gotten to confirm if it's true, but there is a claim that rice worth billions, is it billions or millions of shillings, is being imported into the country, and it has been certified for what we call free, duty free. Yes, I will get back to that in a few. But MMS Square, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Peter. How are you?
I am well. Karibu sana wakili.
Hapo asante sana. Nimeona umeweka hapo watu wa kuchekesha kichele. I really love that song.
Wanieke kichele bwana. M-Pesa bwana iko 00 nafuliza ya shilingi 4 na ninawekea ngoma kama hizo wewe. Chezesheni kichele.
Na ushawekea namba yao ya M-Chwape hapo hivyo.
Na ndio wanieke M-Sa.
Okay, right. Thank you so much, Pipita. And just before I start submitting whatever I'm prepared to submit here, let me just give that whatever I'm going to say is my personal opinion on how I understand. Nimeona news pale IEBC imesema there is no procedure on how to recall MPs. For me, my answer is in negative. There is procedure. And ukisoma hiyo article 104, inasema there is that right to recall. And this right is a right on any electorate. Kama wewe ulipiga kura Nairobi, you should be one of the people who are really spearheading that recall for Esther Passaris. If you really voted here in Nairobi County, doesn't matter whether you voted for her or not, as long as you are an electorate. Now, ukisoma hiyo article 104, it refers you that it's the parliament that it is to enact a legislation on how to provide for the grounds to recall these members of parliament, and at the same time the procedure. Normally in Kenya, what happens, if there is an act, there is always a procedure. Now, in Kenya, the procedure that guides about the election of member of parliament and any other is the Elections Act. And from my understanding, the existing Elections Act, if you go to around, I think it's Article 45, thereabout, I'm not so sure about it. It provides for the process of recall of MP. The very first part it provides for the ground, and one of the ground is the violation of those obligation under Chapter 6, leadership and integrity, those ground. Now, under the same article, I know there is a funny subsection that talks about that a person can only bring that petition for recall to IEBC and an order or an order by High Court or judgment. So for me, from my understanding of all this provision is that this is the procedure. Now, yes, it has said that Election Act has said that you can only bring that petition to IEBC to recall your MP or member of parliament if there is a judgment or order made by High Court. And how will you approach the High Court? Now, it has provided the grounds already. The grounds in Yapo under Chapter 6 of the Constitution. So the only way you can approach the court here is by bringing what you call a constitutional petition, and there is procedure for that. You can bring a court to declare that someone and so has violated this specific clause or provision under the Constitution. Then once you get that order, that's when you can bring that petition to recall your MP, and that is the procedure as I speak and from my understanding. So for me, I believe there is a procedure. The problem is that we don't understand this procedure because most of us, we believe that the procedure has to go to IEBC. And I was trying to be very vigilant about the same conversation that once we have IEBC, you can recall MPs. No, you can only recall your MPs. If someone can go and search that Elections Act, Article 45 thereabout, you can only bring that petition to recall your MP if there is a judgment or there is an order by High Court. And you can only approach the High Court by first instituting a petition, a constitutional petition, to declare that this person and this person, they have violated this particular provision of the Constitution. Article 22 of the Constitution talk about the same procedure. So there is a procedure. The only problem that this procedure is convoluted. Imefichwa kabisa na imekuwa ngumu sana. Even those people are collecting signatures to recall the MP. I'm really wondering what grounds yenye IEBC takubali. To be honest, IEBC cannot accept such a petition because umekuja tu hapo, you are collecting signature and taking it to IEBC. IEBC has nothing to do with that. IEBC can only take it serious if that petition yenye umecollect those signatures comes with an order of the court. So those guys who are collecting signatures are just doing zero works, and they need to go and understand these laws. And that's why I normally insist that let us go understand these laws. So for me, that's how I understand how the laws are as now. And from the political perspective, I totally believe what the political class trying to do inajaribu kutuchokesha akili. The same case happened with the way William Ruto was nominating his cabinet. He was just nominating any person. Ikafika wakati tukachoka tu, anytime he's coming to announce the list, you just know this is the particular person anaenda kuchaguliwa. Kina Kabogo, what are those people doing in the cabinet? And I think that's the same behavior IEBC is starting to do right now. every now and then itakuwa inakupatia something that does not even make sense at all, na itakuwa a normal thing here to happen. So today imekwambia there is no procedure to recall your MP, and there is a procedure, and that person who is giving even that, who is saying that statement is a lawyer, is an advocate of the High Court. I believe that Mr. Edokon is an advocate. He knows these things, but what they are doing, this is just a social engineering tactic to make you tired. The next day they'll tell you they are allowed by the constitution to decide on which date they are going to conduct these elections, and it will be normal for us. So we should not entertain this. We should not entertain this, because first of all, we believe that whatever the constitution, whatever the commissioners are there in the IEBC, we know there is conflict of interest. We know Mr. Erastus Edokon alikuwa councillor county government of Turkana. We know who was the governor of county government of Turkana. Is the current, I don't know which role, anafanya State House, and the president is there. So the person is working with the president, and the president is one of the people who is going to contest in the same election to be decided by this person. So I just believe we are in a total mess as a country, and let's go and read our laws. We have laws. Let no one lie to you, we don't have laws. We have good laws in this country. And I keep on saying, we have good laws until 2022. If you go back and read those laws, they are very good laws. These other things wanakuja kukuambia pa ni brogadashio. These laws imekuja with the current parliament. There's no good law imekuja with the current parliament, but we have good laws. We have the procedure and the process to recall your member of parliament, and you can do it. The constitution says anytime before election, leave alone elections act telling you 12 months or before or after, but it's anytime. If you read that article 104, it is anytime before election. So you can even recall your member of parliament 2 days before the next elections are conducted. So Kenyans, we need to go back and read our laws. Let us stop, first of all, kwanza kuchukua signatures, wakatata we don't even have any ground or any order from the court telling us now this person, yes, they have violated this particular provision. They have violated chapter 6 of the Constitution. Or let the court tell us this particular provision under Elections Act, it is unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional to tell people that you can only petition to recall your member of parliament once you've gotten an order of High Court or a judgment. We have a electorate who cannot afford that. So those are the things we should be talking. Those are the discussions we should be having discussion. But IEBC telling us there are not those laws. They are trying to deflect our discussion to sao kenye iko hapo kwa kitabu. We just focus on whatever they are telling us. So I don't have any other solution in this country. The only solution in this point, they just need to go. We don't know how they are going to go, but they are going to go, all of them. Pipita. Another thing in your story, mchele. Recently, tuliona news, I don't know, farmers were crying. Mchele yao ijanunuliwa, but someone has audacity to import rice worth billions of money. Hiyo inamaanisha ni mchele inakuja kwa hii soko. Every person will be consuming that rice yenye inataka kuingizwa Kenya. So farmers are here crying again. I don't know, I don't know which kind of country we are. We're just in a messed up country in all aspects. But the only thing we can do, let us go and read our laws so that whatever action you are taking here, it's not guided by our emotions. You don't just wake up and saying because you are an influencer, you're someone who has, you wake up post moja, you're getting 100 and thousands of views. You can reach out to very many people. Just tell people, let us collect signatures. And you don't know the process. You cannot start the process midway. You are showing people how you presented that to IEBC, knowing very well that is not the procedure. Ujaanza vile procedure inafaa ianze. So if it is recalling Esther Passaris, we should be talking about a constitutional petition to declare that Esther Passaris has violated this particular chapter of the Constitution. That's where we should be beginning. Once we have this court order, then we can now go and start. Now we have going to present a petition to IEBC to recall Esther Passaris. My people, there is laws. We just need to go and read these laws, how they provide. There is procedure, there is everything that we need. There is everything that we ever need in this country to solve our problems in terms of the laws. Let no one lie to you that we don't have laws. The only problem is that we don't interact with these laws. Let us go and interact with them. Make it your habit to go to that website of Parliament. You read those laws. When you hear there is a particular bill, like today, there are those bills that the president assented to law. You should go and read them. Just get an overview. And the good thing is that if you look at the structure of a bill, inakupatianga it has a section called memorandum of objection, a very simple paragraph that explains the reason and the rationale of whatever amendment they're there. So don't say it's nothing complicated. Stop reading those sections on a lot of numbers. Just go to memorandum of objection and read it, and you'll understand what he's saying. So we have laws. We just need to educate other people here through these shows that there's this law. Go and read. Hii mambo ya IEBC kutudanganya hapa hivi, it's very shameful. And I'm believing someone will be courageous enough to come even with that to an disciplinary action against these senior advocates who are just misleading the public. Those working in the office of the Attorney General, we need to take disciplinary action against them. Otherwise, guys, I drop the mic.
All right. Thank you, Wakili, for that. And of course, demystifying some of these things. Unajua watu wamekuwa wakisikia hapa hivi vitu wanataka kujitengenezea their alternative realities. So thank you for helping me demystify that. I see 2 comments. Let me see if they're bro spam tena. Thinking that 2027 is a solution, that is 9/0. That is Kenya Space. I said, unless you're not mobilizing to answer these tags, we will be fucked. Our wives and daughters and young children. That is Kenya. Why am I seeing this post right now? Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Esquire. I don't know if you have anything to add, but I think that is all we had here on the show. We'll be back here tomorrow for Home Run in PP, on Thursdays, Wellness and Health and Wellness Thursdays. But if we have nothing much, I would like to take my leave. We'll be back here, and also make sure if you would like what you're doing to support the show, always we depend on your support to keep our lights on and running. Yeah? Tunasema kwamba kila saa tunalia hapa kwamba tu support nyinyi ndio kutuwekea taa, because if we decide to go into those political rooms, then we lose our independence, and then we're just like the other people. Anyway, bye guys, be safe, and I hope moving forward we'll have much more conversation. But before we go, even Wakili, niko na swali tu ingine moja, Wakili. Now that I don't know if you've seen that Gazette notice from Tanzania.
Are you talking about the one to ban a citizen from other countries? Yes, I've actually seen it, and some of the businesses that have been cancelled out in Kama supermarket, I don't know, repairing of mobile
Actually,
phones.
supermarket is exempt.
Yes.
Your wholesale
Exactly,
na retail ndo wamefunga.
Yes, wamefunga, wameka pia hii repairing mobile phones and other ones I cannot remember. Okay, for me, I will say that if Kenya we were to go the same way, I think it is Tanzania that will be hurt. Kwa sababu majority of these small businesses are being carried out by Tanzanians in this country. Yeah? And again, I'll say, for me, it's a good move. And I'll say this as a person who loves his country. Yeah? And I'll speak out of personal experience. Mimi nilikuwa naishi place inaitwa Kariobangi South. There's this other top place. If you go at that place, kibanda, mtu anauza mboga kibanda ni Mburundi. Ukienda kukula hapo mayai, mtu anakuchomea mayai, someone from Rwanda. Ukienda kukunywa kahawa, and every person is experiencing this. Kahawa nakuzia ni Rwanda. And it is even become a worse issue right now that these people, they even have access to these M-Pesa services, mobile. And what these people they are doing is that they are killing these small business that our to wanatuambia youth should take over this small business. For me, I believe is a way of Tanzania trying to protect because the rate of employment in this African country, it's very high. And the only way you can cure this rate of unemployment, especially for your own citizen, first of all, make sure all the resources available, they are available for your citizens before other countries. And this is the same policy that Trump amekuja nayo. US before other country, your country before other country. It will make the resources back within your country. Now, for example, in Kenya, now that M-Pesa iko in Kenya, I don't know if it's in Rwanda. Wewe unaenda pale kwa kibanda nanunua hapo mboga kwa huyo mtu wa kibanda. This person sends money nyumbani kwao. What is happening? This money is getting outside our country, going back to their country. And I believe this is something that Tanzania is trying to prevent. because it's worse. These people that have taken over the small businesses, and in this country, small business, they really matter. And the same case applies in Tanzania and any other country. So for me, if I was the president or someone under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I would actually even take the same actions in Kenya, because in Kenya, it's actually even worse. Most of the small businesses here in Kenya zimekuwa taken over by people from, kama ni business za makaa, ama hizi those Tanzanians, those Masais from Tanzania, ukikuja kahawa, Rwanda, and it is happening. It is a serious issue. And there's a time I spoke about, I actually spoke about it, that it's going to be a serious issue. Kwa saizi unapata hata ule mtu mwenye hajamaliza form 4, because when we talk about building economy, we should also tusifikirie tu watu wamemalizia form 4, people can get degrees. Let us think about those the dropout, watu wajasoma na ni wengi sana, ama ule mtu alifika katikati akacha masomo. The simplest thing this person can do ni kuanza hiyo biashara ya kuuza mboga. Biashara ya kuuza mboga iko na pesa mingi sana. Unaendanga kwa kibanda unapata sukuma imeisha. But if this business are being taken over by hawa watu wa kutoka countries zingine, now even to make matters worse, now they can even now register M-Pesa's number here in this country. Unajua kitambo they could not do it. It was difficult for them, but right now they could register the M-Pesa number. And what happens once this pesa imetumwa kwa M-Pesa zao, wanatuma kwao. Hapa ndo tunaanza kulia inflation is happening. That's how it is happening. So for me, I believe Tanzania is just brighter than Kenya. Let me just say this, which is a fact. Tanzania imeona mbele. It has seen far beyond whatever Kenya we are saying, because it has understood that Kenya, it has stupid leaders. Kenya, we're wasting an opportunity. Tanzania should not even this. And you realize, even if you realize the rate of the investors getting out of this country, most of them, they're going to Tanzania. Tanzania has the longest coastline. Tanzania has all this potential. And it seems that it imeanza to realize this potential mapema, despite them being under dictatorship. Their people, their leaders are thinking, and them bringing this kind of policies, they know what's going ahead. They know that is the future. And actually, even for Kenya, kama tunge-take that way, trust you me, hatungekuwa tunalia economy imekuwa ngumu. Unalia economy imekuwa ngumu, pipita unatoka hapa kwako unaenda kununua kahawa pale kwa barabara shilingi 5, unapatia pesa inaenda Rwanda. Unakuja hapo kwa sukuma, pesa inaenda. And that is happening in this country. So for me, I believe whatever Gazette Notice Tanzania have done, I'll take a different position from what people are saying. Yes, it may sound very brutal, but that's how things sometimes should be, for the sake of your people, for the sake of Kenyans, those who have not gone to school, those mama mboga. Ruto was talking about mama mboga. I can assure you, go to those vibandas around Kariobangi South, tuko juu. You'll realize all of them ni wa Rwanda. Unatumia mtu pesa, a very weird name. It is happening. And what is happening is that it's eating our economy from below. As our leaders think that our economy is building at universities, the economy is built by these people. Your bottom up wanaongelelea. That's how our economy should be built. So if these kind of policies sustain, trust you me, it will be a relief on my side who is earning, kwa sababu sitapata ile pesa ya kumtumia. I'll be able to save and invest in other things, and that's how economy should be working, and that's how our leaders should be thinking. That is my take on that, Peter.
Thank you so much, Wakili, for that. I think we'll call it a night from there. Yes, I think we'll call it a night so that we can be back here again tomorrow. Ama vipi? Yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. It's 9:40 p.m. East African time. Let me go do what bachelors do, cook for themselves,
This is Home Run with Pipi.
Yes, and I'll be back here tomorrow again for Home Run People Wellness Thursdays. Be